Welcome. I'm E.G. Marshall. You are all fortunate today, and I am indeed glad for you. For today's story was written by the genius who gave us Tiny Tim, Scrooge, David Copperfield, Oliver Twist, literally a world of unforgettable characters. Very rarely did Charles Dickens spin out for us a mystery, but today we will untangle the web of just such a story. Our mystery drama, Hunted Down, written by Charles Dickens, was adapted especially for the Mystery Theater by James Agate Jr. and stars Gordon Heath. Charles Dickens spent quite a bit of time in the United States. He toured the country reading his stories. He even wrote some here. This story, Hunted Down, appeared serially in the New York Ledger in August 1850. But this account of deception and murder could have happened today, over 125 years later. The same idea has been copied by modern authors, but no one has ever told it as vividly as Charles Dickens. This is the way it begins.
My name is Edgar Sampson. I am the chief manager of London Life, one of England's oldest life insurance companies. To deal in insurance, one must know how to judge a man. If you can't do that, chances are you will be deceived, and your company could lose a fortune to the unscrupulous. Which brings me to the first time I met up with Julius Slington. Adams, who is that man dressed in black who just left the office?
Just now, that was Mr. Julius Slington.
One of our clients?
No, he's not insured with us, not as far as I know.
He has an air about him, I say, like a warning.
A warning?
As if he was saying, not in so many words, take me just as I show myself. Come along, follow the gravel path, keep off the grass. I permit no trespassing.
Oh, I see what you mean, Mr. Sampson. Mr. Slington is all business.
Nothing wrong with that, but this gentleman wants to be sure you know it.
Well, if that's it, he put on a very big act for the little he wanted.
Which was?
A few application forms for a friend of his who wants to take out life insurance.
Why did he come to London Life, did he say?
Yes, he did. Said he was recommended by a friend of yours.
Of mine, Adams? Did he know my name?
Yes, sir. He looked over here and said, there's Mr. Sampson. Not that I've had the pleasure, so I shan't trouble him.
Huh. Well, that'll be all, Adams. You may go back to your desk. No, I didn't like the looks of this Slington. He had smiled too much at Adams, was too agreeable. A week later, I went to see an old friend for dinner, and who should be there but Julius Slington.
Edgar Sampson. Well, the work seems to agree with you.
Oh, I must admit, Tom, I enjoy it. It was nice of you to ask me over for a meal. Do you know that fellow over there, standing by the mantelpiece?
Well, of course I know him. I'm not in the habit of inviting strangers to eat with me.
Then, since we are both under the same roof, introduce me.
Certainly. Julius, I want you to meet Edgar Sampson, Julius Slington.
How do you do?
How do you do?
Well, I thought you two had met. Julius was thinking about some life insurance. I told him to look you up.
I did look in at Mr. Sampson's office on your recommendation, Tom, but since all I wanted was a few insurance forms, I didn't want to trouble him.
I would have been glad to help you.
I'm sure of that, and I'm very much obliged. Another time, perhaps?
You're thinking of insuring your life?
No, dear, no. I'm afraid I'm not so prudent as all that. I was inquiring for a friend. I hear that London Life has recently suffered a great loss.
In money?
No, in talent and vigor.
I was not aware of it.
I speak of your Mr. Meltham.
Oh, to be sure. He is a great loss. A young man, so energetic. Yes, 'tis a shame. You, knew Meltham?
Only by reputation. Very young, wasn't he?
About 30.
To suddenly become incapable of business at that young age. Any reason for his sudden, what should I call it?
Oh, my dear Slington, I see Tom is telling us dinner is served. Oh, will you excuse me? What can I tell you? I simply could not bear the fellow. I thought him prying, insincere. And I'm sure he must have realized I was having second thoughts about him. But my reactions didn't stop Slington. He even sat himself next to me, and after dinner, as we were lighting up cigars, there he was again, at my elbow.
I didn't want to go into this at the table. But as we were saying before, this young chap, Meltham, who used to work for you, whatever happened, do you suppose that he should suffer
Suffer what, Mr. Slington?
I was going to say, a nervous breakdown.
Is that what you've heard?
In a way. I understand he was actually, how can I put it, broken-hearted. Something about a girl. Although it didn't seem probable to me, Meltham being a young man so distinguished and attractive.
Attractions and distinctions are no armor against death.
Ah, the lady died. Pardon me, I did not know that. That does make it very sad. Poor Mr. Meltham. She died. Ah, dear me. Lamentable. Lamentable.
Do you think this Slington is genuine? Neither did I. Why this commiseration from Meltham, whom he couldn't have known very well, if at all? What was Slington up to?
Mr. Sampson, you're surprised to see me so moved about a man I have never known. But I am not so disinterested as you suppose. I have suffered, and recently too, from death myself. I have lost one of two charming nieces who were my constant companions. She died nearly 23, and her remaining sister is far from strong. Ah, my dear Mr. Sampson, the world is a grave. Well, now, if you'll excuse me, I'll have a word with the ambassador.
Dear Edgar, you seem to have spent a good part of the evening talking to Slington. He's not a bad chap, really.
For some reason, Tom, heaven knows why, he's followed me from my first glass of wine to my last cigar. How long have you known him, Tom?
Oh, a few months. I met him at Busoni's, the painter. He knew Slington in Italy, where he'd been on holiday with his two nieces. One of them died, and he returned to London. He, wasn't annoying you, was he?
Not really. There are some people who travel from house to house, visiting acquaintance to acquaintance, and in that way acquire ready-made friends.
Oh, come now, Edgar. Julius Slington is not that much of an opportunist.
My dear Tom, when your very livelihood and the success of your company depends upon knowing whom you are dealing with,
You saying, Edgar, that some inner voice in you is warning you all may not be what it seems with dear Julius?
Precisely. With regard to that gentleman, I should be extremely surprised if all were what it seems.
Good morning, Mr. Sampson. That gentleman is here again. He's been waiting to see you.
Slington?
Yes.
Ah, Mr. Sampson, good day to you. It's the matter of the insurance policy.
Oh, yes, the forms you brought to your friend.
Yes. The fact is, I'm no little taken by surprise by what my friend has done by way of life insurance.
Has he filled out the application?
He told me so.
What is his name, Mr. Slington?
Beckwith.
Adams, if you have a life application there from a Mr. Beckwith, would you bring it in?
You see, Beckwith and I live in the same digs in Middle Temple, top of the same staircase. His door is opposite mine.
Here it is, Mr. Sampson. Mr. Alfred Beckwith applies for £2,000 life insurance.
Thank you, Adams. Yes, seems to be in order. He names you as beneficiary, Mr. Slington.
I never thought he would. I suppose he has no other relatives.
It's done all the time. a naming of friends as beneficiaries. Now you, for your part, must also fill out one of our forms. That night, I was at home when I had a visit from a young man I had not seen in several months. John Meltham.
Yes, it's been a long time, Mr. Sampson.
Too long, dear John. My boy looked terrible. What have you been doing with yourself?
Well, I'm not up to sorts.
John, I don't think you should have quit the company. When a sad event happens through an accident of fate...
May I interrupt you, Mr. Sampson? This was no mere sad event, but a tragedy. A great tragedy. Nor, believe me, was it a simple accident of fate.
My point is, no matter how tragic, one's days must go on. To do that, the best medicine is to fill your hours with work. Come back to London life, John. We'll welcome you like a shot.
I can't do the work. I've lost faith in my ability to judge or understand motives. I would be worthless to you.
All because a girl we insured dies.
No, let's not talk about it. At any rate, I've decided on another line of work. Something I'd rather do.
I hope it pays you well. And I hope you are as good at it as you were in insurance. All of us thought you were a marvelous agent. And your commissions proved it, didn't they?
Mr. Sampson, all they proved is I put money ahead of humanity. And that's why I can't say it. It's why Marguerite is dead.
I'm sorry the pain is still with you.
I loved her, Mr. Sampson. Oh, how I loved her.
Death is a part of life, you know.
Yes, I can accept that. But not the reason for her death. I came this evening to tell you of the peculiar circumstances surrounding her death.
She was very young. Too young to die.
Please. Say nothing.
As you wish. I shall sit here and listen.
This is very difficult for me to talk about.
I'm sure it is. I know.
No, you don't. I killed Marguerite. I did. Yet I love that girl as I have never loved anyone before or ever shall again. But if the whole truth were known, I, and I alone, led her to her death. I murdered her.
What have we here? Quite a turn of events, huh? Our man Edgar Sampson, who manages London life, meets, dislikes, and suspects the sincerity of one Julius Slinkton. Then his former employee, John Meltham, confesses to a murder. Is there a link between these three men? If there are answers, let us hope they are forthcoming when I return shortly with Act 2. Charles Dickens came to his interest in mystery, murder, and the work of detection late in his creative life. Not that social injustice, which he constantly assailed, was foreign to him, but specific chicanery like that in this story was a new subject for Dickens. Certainly none of his characters before John Meltham had ever confessed to murder.
I killed that sweet girl just as certainly as if I had put a bullet through her head.
John, I want you to calm down.
It's been too much for me to bear alone. Let me, in my own way, tell you how it happened. I was sitting at my desk at London Life. You were away, I believe.
Mr. Meltham, there is a young lady come to inquire about insurance. Do you think you can see her?
Yes, why, certainly, Adams. What is her name?
Oh, I don't need to be announced. I am not royalty. Marguerite Niner. And you, sir?
John Meltham. Pray, sit down.
Mr. Meltham, London Life has been recommended to me as trustworthy. I wish to deal with a company that will make good on its promises to pay.
I sincerely hope, Miss Niner, that day is in the very distant future.
We all hope that, Mr. Meltham. But death does not always consult our wishes.
Yes, how old are you?
23. You are smiling, Mr. Meltham.
Yes, of course we will insure you. But may I say, for one so young and beautiful, it seems to me that you're...
I appreciate the compliment. May I have the forms to... Oh, please. May I... Could I have a glass of water? I don't feel at all well.
Miss Nina. Miss Nina. Oh, good Lord. She's fainted. Adams, come here, quickly. In a matter of moments, she had come to of her own accord. Adams and I lifted this beautiful creature and carried her to the couch in your office, Mr. Sampson.
I had heard she'd some slight indisposition, but I had no idea the poor girl had fainted.
Well, she insisted we immediately begin to process her policy. When I asked her if she was under doctor's care, she actually implied they had all given her up. Well, right there, I should have said, my dear young lady, if indeed you have a history of illness, London Life cannot insure you. But she was so intense about taking it out as she lay there, looking at me deeply with her lavender eyes, reaching and touching my heart. How could I refuse her? I could not.
I understand. Extenuating circumstances.
I loved her. There could be no other reason. I'm 30 years old, and for the first time in my life, I knew love.
John, perhaps insuring Miss Nina without medical approval was foolhardy, but I would hardly call that an act of murder. Why, she was abroad in Italy when it happened.
I know now Marguerite did not die a natural death.
You have proof?
Not yet.
But one must have proof.
Let us say I have enough. But whether at this moment I have adequate proof or not, I shall follow the person I believe directly responsible until the ends of the earth.
Surely the police...
Oh, no. Now, they may have this person later. For now, it is my satisfaction to avenge the deed.
John, I believe the death of this young lady is something you should completely erase from your mind. It is unhealthy to dwell upon it, and it could wreck your life. And supposing you were wrong, that hers was a natural death.
I cannot forget the day she passed away. It was only 1 month to the day her life policy went into effect. It was also the day I had purchased a wedding ring.
It was quite late when John Meltham left my house. We kept in touch, and in September, I went down to Eastbourne for a breath of sea air. Who should be walking the beach that very late afternoon but Julius Slington, with a beautiful girl on his arm, a very delicate, very pale and melancholy young lady dressed in mourning.
Mr. Sampson, as I live and breathe.
Hi, Mr. Slington. This is a coincidence.
How so?
I was thinking of you just the other day.
In a kindly fashion, I hope. Mr. Sampson, this is Miss Nina, my niece. Marjorie, this is Mr. Sampson.
Delighted, I'm sure.
How do you do?
Are you strolling, Mr. Sampson? Shall we stroll together?
With pleasure.
Marjorie and I are about to take this rather steep climb to the top of Beachy Head. Ah, look there. The mark of wheels in the sand. The wheels of a hand carriage. Marjorie, my love, your shadow, no doubt.
Miss Nina's shadow.
Not a sun shadow. Marjorie, my dear. Tell Mr. Sampson.
There is nothing to tell except that I constantly see the same invalid old gentleman at all times wherever I go. When I'm strolling the beach or, as we are now, mounting the path to the cliffs. There he is within sight, being wheeled about in a bath chair.
Strange. Does he live in Eastbourne?
He is staying here.
Do you live in Eastbourne?
No, also merely staying. Dear Uncle Julius is concerned over my health, so he has me staying with the family.
And your shadow?
My shadow, I fear, is like myself. Not very robust. He's always bundled up. You can hardly see his face. I don't think I should know him if I were to meet him.
I think I see his bath chair down there coming towards us.
I've not seen him for days. But it does happen. Wherever I go, this gentleman goes. I'm quite out of breath from the climb. Uncle, can we rest a bit?
Certainly, my dear. We're practically at the top.
Isn't that your shadow now, at the foot of our path?
Yes. There he is. And notice, he's always having his bath chair pushed by the same grey-haired gentleman.
Will you both excuse me for a moment? I think I know the gentleman.
Good evening, Mr. Sampson. I'm glad you arrived before it got dark.
John, I must congratulate you upon your disguise. You make an admirable, elderly, bundled-up gent.
Thank you. Your manservant does well as a porter.
I knew he would. I came as soon as I got your message.
Sir, Marjorie Niner is in danger of her life.
I quite understand.
We must get her away from him.
I shall do my best.
No, not like dear Marguerite, her sister. We must save her.
I have every intention. Keep us inside, John, and I shall do my best to effect a rescue.
He must not know that we know.
Have no fear.
Oh, bless you, sir.
Good Lord, they're gone. I can't see them up there. I must start back.
Hurry, hurry!
I ran up the steep path at Beachy Head, filled with frightening thoughts of what the area is known for. As I got to the top, I saw Marjorie and Nina at the very edge, struggling with Slington. Stop! Stop!
Oh, it's you, Sampson. Oh, thank heaven. I thought we'd lost her.
Miss Nina, what is it?
I don't know rightly. I was just looking down there at those sharp, jagged rocks, and I must have lost my balance or something. It felt like I was being pushed. Now and then I heard you cry, stop, and then Uncle Julius reached out and he caught me. He caught me before I fell.
Oh, my dear Marjorie, I think this climb was too much for you.
But it was your idea, Uncle.
Are you all right, Miss Nina?
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Sampson.
Well, Mr. Sampson, who was he?
I beg your pardon?
Marjorie is dying to know who her shadow is.
Ah, yes, the old gentleman. He is an intimate friend of our mutual friend, Tom, at whose house we first met. A certain Major Banks, an old East India director. You have heard of him?
Banks? Never.
Very rich, Miss Nina, but very old and very crippled. He has been much interested in you, even at long range. He was telling me of the affection he observed between you and your uncle.
Our affection was always a strong one, for we had but few near ties. There are but two of us. Sampson, would you be a good fellow and sit here with my niece while I run back and fetch her medicine?
I shall be glad to.
Oh, Uncle, I'm putting you to such trouble. It's hateful tasting stuff.
I shall be as quick as I can.
Please be careful. It's almost dark now and the path is steep.
Don't worry, my dear. Half an hour or so and I shall be back.
He is such a good man.
Miss Nina, tell me more about your uncle.
Oh, you have no idea. The way he cared for my sister. His untiring devotion to her strange illness.
Strange.
What? She just wasted away. No one could ever explain it satisfactorily.
Your sister passed away in Italy.
Yes. How did you know? We were taking a journey, mostly for her health, and in this little town high in the Dolomites, where there was no doctor, no help whatsoever, she passed away. They had her buried there.
You have no family? No one to wish her remains back in England?
Marguerite and I are orphans. We have no money, no one, nothing. Oh, I signed a little insurance over to Uncle Julius, as did Marguerite. Otherwise, we were quite alone in the world, until he came into our lives. He made us call him Uncle, but we're not related, really.
May I call you Marjorie?
Certainly.
I ask that because someone very dear to your sister is very dear to me, and he is much concerned over your well-being.
He has a right to be so. I have a feeling that my life is drawing to an end, even as did Marguerite's. It must be in our blood.
Marjorie, do you have any idea why Mr. Slington brought you to Eastbourne?
Why, yes. For the restorative powers of the sea air.
This very place where we now sit, this cliff, is called Beachy Head. Do you know what it is famous for? In all of England, what Beachy Head is known for?
No.
Suicides.
What?
You heard me right. Suicides. When I came up the cliff path just now and saw you in your uncle's arms, suicide is what flashed to my mind. If you had dropped over the edge, would it have looked like suicide?
but I thought I tripped. Or...
And you thought he caught you? Perhaps.
What are you saying, Mr. Sampson?
And the medicine you find distasteful, does it not make you feel worse rather than better?
Uncle Julius said one must expect that.
Why must one? Marjorie, time presses. Heed my warning. Collect your strength, your resolve. Had you been alone up here, one misstep, and this moment you would be lying shattered on those rocks below. Believe me, the next time your life will not be spared.
I cannot believe you.
You must. As your friend, as your sister's friend, I entreat you, Marjorie, without one moment's loss of time, come with me, and I shall bring you to the man you call your shadow. He can tell you better than I of the danger to your life. I had barely the time to run with her to the bath chair where Melton was waiting. As the evening star rose into the heavens over Beachy Head, I saw them disappear, and the tall, familiar form of Julius Slington make his way up the cliff to my side.
The tall man with his hair parted in the middle had an air about him that said to Edgar Sampson, "Keep off the grass." Now, as he approaches Sampson, the sign seems to read, "Look out. Danger." We have a devious and cunning man, possibly a murderer, pitted against a clever and just man. What happens will be revealed when I return in a few moments with Act 3. Night has fallen on the English seacoast town of Eastbourne. The waves are high and signal an impending storm. But in the air is not only a storm at sea, but a storm of anger, which might break at any moment. The young lady, fortunately, has been spirited away to safety. Edgar Sampson sits on a rock high on the beachhead cliffs and waits.
Mr. Sampson, my niece is not here.
Miss Nina felt the growing chill and has gone home.
Indeed.
I persuaded her.
She's easily persuaded for her own good. Thank you, Mr. Sampson. She's better within doors.
Safer. I thought so, too.
I shall have to take her medicine down to her, then.
She is very delicate.
Very. Since the unfortunate death of her sister, Marjorie has not fared well. But we must hope. Do you stay here in Eastbourne long, Mr. Sampson?
I know. I'm going away tonight.
Oh, so soon? Has the sea air restored you so quickly?
Events, Mr. Slington. Events have quite restored me, thank you. I'm going back.
To London?
To London. And I'd better start down. That storm is overtaking us.
Mr. Sampson, may I ask? Poor Tom Meltham, whom we spoke of. He has been stricken, you were telling me.
Indeed, yes. Fatally.
Is he dead yet?
Not when I last heard of him, but too broken a man to live long, and hopelessly lost to us at London Life. Were he even to live, which I doubt, he will never be the man he was.
Oh, dear, dear. Sad. The world is a grave.
A few days later, I arranged to see Marjorie Nina in London. I selected the safest place possible, an address where I was certain we could meet in broad daylight and not be observed. In front of the statue of Peter Pan in Kensington Gardens.
Mr. Sampson, my head is still in a whirl. I honestly don't know what to make of all this.
That is exactly the reason, Marjorie. Honesty.
You mean?
I mean that most of us take at face value the actions of others. We begin by trusting them. We expect them, in return, to treat us honestly. The man you call your uncle exploited you, and your sister, shamefully, criminally. And it is only a matter of time before he is caught in his own web.
Uncle Julius. It's so hard for me to believe. He seemed so devoted to us. We often remarked at our extraordinary good fortune to have been befriended 2 girls working in a factory we were, by this charming, lovely, thoughtful person who never made an untoward move in any way.
His only interest, Marjorie, is money. It seems a shame to be talking about such a man in this beautiful place.
Do you know, I haven't been to Kensington Gardens since I was a little girl.
And did you know another little girl was born right over there in Kensington Palace, and she always played in these gardens? Queen Victoria.
Marguerite and I would roll our hoops right along this path. I miss her so, Mr. Sampson. I wish we had never met, Mr. Slinkton. I wish it with all my heart.
Just try to believe all that has happened is perhaps a dream. You'll wake up, Marjorie, and the world will be beautiful again.
I just thought that nice man, or the one who helped me get away from Beachy Head, my shadow. Peter Pan could never get his shadow to stick on.
That's better. You're smiling. Good things can happen tomorrow. Remember that. Even little Peter Pan believed that. I must be going now. I shall watch over you even more closely than your shadow at Beachy Head.
How long must I remain with Mr. Meltham's sister?
Until we are certain Mr. Slinkton no longer roams the streets.
When will that be?
Soon, I hope. Very soon. The final thread of the web led me to the building where Julius Slinkton lived, the top floor. He on one side of the stairs, and on the other, the gentleman whose life he had insured with us, Mr. Beckwith.
Who is that? Oh, welcome. Enter, my good man.
Excuse me, I noticed the name on the door. Alfred Beckwith.
That is me. Do you know me?
By name only. I'm with London Life.
Ah, yes, you are looking for my dear friend Slinkton, no doubt. He is across the hall. I'll call him. Julius? Julius Caesar! You have a visitor. What did you say your name was?
Sampson.
Julius Caesar! The sun is over the yardarm!
Alfred, what is the matter with you? Oh, Mr. Sampson, what brings you here?
Mr. Beckwith, will you excuse us a moment? Where can we talk, Mr. Slinkton?
Right outside, on the landing.
Oh, yes, indeed. You are excused, but I shall expect you back.
Is this your friend, Beckwith, who you insured with us?
I'm afraid it is. I'm exceedingly sorry to say.
But surely you could be of some help. He is your friend, you said. His rooms are in such disorder. How can anyone live like that? By the way he looks, I'd say he's in the last stages of delirium tremens.
I'm as saddened as you. Yes, he's a very great friend. He must have been very ill, even before I knew him. Now I can do nothing with him. Nothing at all.
How is your niece, Mr. Slinkton?
My niece?
Marjorie Niner, the one I met with you at Beachy Head.
I'm sorry to say, Mr. Sampson, that my niece has proved treacherous and ungrateful. She left me without a word of notice or explanation, simply disappeared. No doubt she was misled by some designing rascal. You may have heard of it.
I did hear she was misled by some designing rascal. In fact, I have proof of it.
Are you sure of that?
Quite.
Are you both standing out there on the landing forever? Company to breakfast. Julius, boil the brandy.
My dear Mr. Beckwith, I see no food about. Nothing to eat but these salted herrings.
Yes, Julius believes in keeping up my thirst. You will forgive me, Mr. Sampson, the way I am dressed. This whole dressing gown is all I seem to have. My clothes have all disappeared.
Surely, Mr. Slinkton, you could fetch him some food to eat. The man is ill.
Mr. Sampson, you're a man of the world. I'll be plain with you.
Oh, no, you won't.
I understand your object in visiting here. London Life wishes to save its funds and escape from its liabilities. These are old tricks of the trade with you insurance gentlemen. But you will not do it, sir.
Julius, I found some brandy.
No, you will not be able to evade payment, sir, should anything happen to this dear man. You will not succeed, Mr. Sampson. You have not an easy adversary to play against when you play against me. When the time comes and Mr. Beckwith is no more, we shall have to inquire when and how he fell into his present habits.
Julius, gentlemen, I drink to your health.
Sir, Mr. Sampson, I put this incoherent, poor creature aside and wish you a good morning.
With that, Alfred Beckwith took his entire glass of brandy and threw it right into Slington's face, and then the glass after it. As he mopped the blood and brandy away, Julius Slington saw before him a man no longer reeling and trembling, but a changed, determined, forceful Alfred Beckwith.
Slington, look at me, you villain. See me as I really am. I took these rooms to bait a trap for you. You thought me a poor drunkard, an imbecile. You insured my life, did you? I saw Mr. Sampson before you did. Your plot has been known to us all along. Having baited you with a prize of £2,000, you were going to kill me off with brandy. And since the brandy didn't seem to be working quickly enough, you were pouring poison into my glass. Oh, so I was not too far gone not to observe you.
The man is mad, obviously a drunkard and a fool.
Murderer. Why do you suppose I was certain you would fall into the trap? Because you are no stranger to me, Julius Slington. I knew you, murderer, who for so much money had poisoned one innocent girl while she trusted you and was on the point of killing another.
Are we going to stand here, Mr. Sampson, and listen to the ravings of this lunatic?
Perhaps we had better.
But while you may be able to deceive your young ladies, this old bird was not fooled. Do you think that I drank all the liquor you plied me with? I poured it away. And then when you were out, I let myself into your apartment, investigated your papers, took samples from your poison bottles, your packets of powder, changed the contents to harmless sugar, lest you be out trying to kill more innocents.
Dear me, Mr. Sampson, don't you find all this a little repetitious and boring?
Not half as repetitious as your private journal, spelling out in detail, page after page, how long it took you to do away with your victim. The size of the doses, the signs of gradual decay upon the mind and body, the fancies produced, the pain inflicted. It's repetitious, but not boring.
Mr. Sampson, I cannot remain in this poor demented creature's presence any longer. I'm going back to my apartment.
You won't find that journal in the secret drawer of your writing desk any longer.
Then you are a thief.
And I am also your niece Marjorie's shadow. I followed you to Eastbourne, made certain Mr. Sampson was on hand when you tried to use Beachy Head as the scene of a suicide. And all the while plying Miss Nina with medicine. You said medicine indeed.
Who are you? Why have you pursued me like this? Are you the police?
No, Mr. Slington. We are life insurers. We bank on the life, not the death of those we insure. I am not the police.
Beckwith, who are you?
When you sent the sweet Margaret Nina, whom you murdered, to the office of John Meltham, it fell to his lot to see her, speak with her, give her the insurance forms naming you as beneficiary. But it did not fall to his lot to save her. Having lost her, he had but one object left in life, and that was to avenge her and destroy you. I am John Meltham.
Julius Slington was apprehended, brought to trial, and condemned to pay for his crimes with his life. John Meltham, I am happy to say, is beginning to recover from the sadness of having lost his first love. At least, he no longer blames himself for her death. And it may very well be, if he and Marjorie Nina continue to see one another, they will both find a happiness long delayed. As for myself, Edgar Sampson, I look very carefully at the line marked beneficiary in your policy. I try to find out as much as I can before we insure your life.
Insurance files are filled with stories like the one you just heard. Recently, a man was insured for $50,000. He was thrown into an icy river, left to catch pneumonia, poisoned with alcohol, set afire, run over by a car, and still the man would not die. Others have not fared so well. Is there a precaution, an answer? I'll try to give you one when I return shortly. Yes, it was over 125 years ago that Charles Dickens wrote this brilliant expose, especially for American readers, serialized in a New York newspaper. Have times and crimes changed that much in well over a century? Deceit for gain, murder for profit? I'm afraid not. The answer, then, is to be on one's guard. Ask, who stands to win if you lose your life? Find out. Be careful, and you may live longer. Our cast included Gordon Heath, Patricia Elliott, Robert Dryden, and Earl Hammond. The entire production was under the direction of Hyman Brown.
This is E.G. Marshall inviting you to return to our Mystery Theater for another adventure in the macabre. Until next time, pleasant dreams.
The CBS Radio Mystery Theater presents... Come in. Welcome. I'm E.G. Marshall. Welcome to the world of terrifying imagination. Of all the great killers of history, perhaps the deadliest and most terrifying is the automobile. Nero, Attila the Hun, Lorenzo de Medici, Bluebeard, even artillery fire and the ultimate, the atom bomb, at least have a purpose, a reason, a rationale. But the automobile maims or kills mindlessly, senselessly. For example,
this is old Long Jack here in the studio on a lonesome scene, wet, foggy night. Saying if you're on wheels, real careful tonight. It's heavy, man, heavy.
Oh, shut up, you fool.
If you just let Big Daddy help you out, all you...
You can't help me, Big Daddy. I must have hit something. Somebody. Split. I got a split.
our mystery drama, And Nothing But the Truth, was written especially for the Mystery Theater by Ian Martin and stars Arnold Moss. Was the accident we heard a few minutes ago another statistic of the road? An innocent victim? A careless driver? The victim's family broken and lost? A young man whose carelessness had blighted a bright new manhood and a promising career? Or was the driver lucky this time? Lucky in a way far beyond his hope or expectation? We're about to find out with David, the young driver, as he paces his living room floor, waiting for his father to come home.
Dad?
David. David, what are you doing up at this hour?
I didn't hear you come in. I thought you'd never get home. Where you been?
Well, now do I have to start answering to you for my whereabouts?
What? What? Oh, you mean like Mother?
Yes, like your mother.
I'm sorry, Dad.
Well, for your information, I was working, correcting term papers. It wasn't that I... David, I'm very tired.
You all right, Dad? You look like you had an attack or something.
Well, don't be silly. I said I was tired. What's wrong with you? You've been drinking.
Yes, I wish I hadn't, but I didn't.
Oh, okay, son. Take it easy. Whatever it is, we'll work it out. Well, where's your sports car? Didn't you have it out tonight?
Yes. I left it parked on the street.
Well, you better put it away. There's no sense in leaving it out in this rain.
Dad, I've got to talk to you. It's about the car.
What about the car?
I didn't know what to do. I hit the panic button. I ran.
Well, what else did you hit?
Someone. A man. I'm pretty sure. Down near the railroad. You know where the big curve comes around by the station opposite Franny's place? I think it was one of those old winos that hang around there. Dad, I swear I never saw him with all that rain and the fog.
Was there anyone else around?
I didn't see anyone. I should have stopped, but all I could think of was that I'd been drinking and the scholarship coming up, and if anything happened, it would kill Mom. And before I knew it, I was running away. I've been going crazy waiting for you to get home. I'm scared, too, but I guess I ought to go to the police.
Does your mother know about this?
No.
Okay. When did it happen?
2:00, almost on the nose.
2 this morning?
Yeah.
By the railroad, you say?
Yeah, I just came off Stratfield, and I took the corner into the big bend on Hills Point.
I get the picture. Okay. Now go in the kitchen and wait for me. And no matter what, don't let your mother get involved.
Where are you going?
I'm going to have a look at your car.
Well, I'll come with you.
You'll do as I say from here on in. Now, you go to the kitchen. I'll be right back.
What are you going to do?
I'm not sure yet. But well, maybe there's a way to get off the spot. Is your mother still asleep?
I guess so. She hasn't been down.
There's a dent in your front right fender. Was that there before tonight?
No.
You sure?
Yeah, I Simonized the car yesterday. Does it look bad?
Well, not to... Well, it must have been a glancing blow.
You mean maybe it's going to be all right?
Maybe.
Oh, I don't think I could hurt him too bad. And a night like tonight, who'd be hanging around?
It isn't going to be all that easy, David. They might be able to trace the car.
How?
You're missing a front right hubcap. There aren't that many Harley 584s in this town.
So I'll have to give myself up.
No. Let's figure this out. Was your mother up when you went out tonight?
I don't know if she was asleep, but she wasn't downstairs.
Well, then she didn't see what car you took.
No?
Did she see me leave? I mean, did she look out of the window or anything?
No. She was just sitting in the big chair by the fireplace, crying.
Crying?
You know, the usual.
That I was off once again to the arms of another woman,
Like that.
Well, you don't believe all that talk, do you?
Look, Dad, we've been down this road before. I'm not making any judgments.
I'm not asking you to sit in judgment on me. I asked for a simple reaction between a father and his son. I'm sorry, David. I didn't mean to blow up.
I guess we're both a little shook tonight. But you ought to know by now where I stand. It's just, well, I know Mom gets a lot of screwy notions, but all the same, I'm sorry for her. She's so lost, and, well, I'm always afraid that any little thing might push her right over the edge. Like tonight, oh, Dad, what am I going to do?
That's what we're going to figure out right now. I got a few more questions. You say the accident happened at 2:00 or so, right?
Just as I said, almost exactly.
Now, how do you know that?
I was listening to Long Jack, and he was just going into a last commercial before he went off the air. The disc he was spinning was just ending, and, well, when I hit the guy.
What was the record?
An oldie, Easy to Love.
And you hit this man just after you turned off Stratfield into Hills Point.
Yeah.
He suddenly stepped off the curb.
Like out of nowhere.
How fast were you going?
Gee, Dad,
Now, come on, don't pussyfoot with me.
Too fast. I took the corner pretty wide.
Did you skid?
Yeah, it was pretty slick from the rain.
And there was no one else around?
No.
You're sure?
Yeah, I opened the door to look out. There was no one. That's why I lost my nerve and cut out. Well, I better get down and find out.
You stay right where you are.
It's after 4. The longer I wait, the worse it will be for me.
You're not going to be involved in this at all, David.
What do you mean?
I mean, you were driving the station wagon tonight. I was the one who was driving the sports car, and I'm going to the precinct house right now to report that I hit a man and left the scene of the accident.
Dad, I can't let you do that.
Don't be a fool. I'm not on the verge of getting a full scholarship to Harvard. I haven't been drinking. I'm not a teenager with 2 strikes against him as a driver to begin with. I'm a full college professor with a distinguished record who is coming home on a foul night with visibility almost 0, dead tired, after correcting 200 term papers. I can stand the gaff, and you can't.
No, sir, Dad. I thank you, and I admire you, but I hope to God I'm enough of a man not to hide behind my father's pants.
You'd better think of it as your mother's skirts. Your mother couldn't care less what happens to me, but you're a different story. You get in big trouble over this, and it could kill her. Worse still, drive her over that edge we both worry about.
But, Dad,
Don't argue. This is the way it's going to be. You just let me handle it, and you keep your mouth shut no matter what happens.
I don't know what to say.
I'll tell you what you're going to say. Nothing. Nothing to anyone.
But, Mom...
Least of all to your mother.
Okay, Dad, if that's the way you want it. Oh, how can I thank you? You're some kind of a guy.
No, David. Just the most sensible way out of a bad situation. I'd better get down to the police. Don't wait up. I may be a while. It's still raining. You got the keys?
Sorry, right here. And thanks, Dad, for everything.
This will all work out for the best. I think I hear your mother moving about.
If she comes down, what do I say?
What we've agreed on is the truth. That I've gone to the precinct house to report that I'm a hit-and-run driver, right?
Right. I'll never forget what you're doing for me.
And for your mother. For all of us.
Grant, is that you?
No, Mom, it's me, David.
Oh, I thought I heard your father come home a little while ago. What are you doing at the front door?
Oh,
I better come down. What's going on? I heard voices, angry voices.
That was Dad and me. Not angry, we were just discussing something.
Then where's Grant now? Yes, I heard a door slam. Did he go out again?
Yes.
Not another woman. Not 2 in one night.
Why don't you give him a break once? He was at the college correcting papers.
Then where's he off to now?
Mom, it's kind of damp in the hall. Let's go into the living room and sit down.
Don't tell me he's finally taken off for good with one of his bed partners.
Oh, Mother, have a heart. Why can't you see what a right guy Dad is?
Maybe I've known him too long. So what errand took him out of the house again at 4:20 in the morning?
He's gone to the local precinct to confess to a hit and run.
Yes, madam, I understand. I'll have some officers on the way immediately. Well, these are experts in the bomb squad. Oh, yes, ma'am, all the latest equipment. Thank you, ma'am. We do our best at the police department.
Full moon time again, huh, Lieutenant?
Oh, yeah, Riso. The crazies are out on the broom tonight. There was some dingaling just saw a UFO land in our backyard. How was your hit and run?
Oh, no sweat. Some old wino stumbled off the curb, got his rear end creased. They took him to St. Elizabeth's. Anything on the general bulletin?
Nah, it's small stuff. Mugging in the 2nd precinct. It's a gas station hold up in the 5th. I want to hear something new. That's a 12th. Nothing. A code 2, see the man. Some citizen reports a smell of gas in his apartment house, possible suicide. It's nothing worth our brains. What's that in your hand?
Oh, it's a hubcap. Clue from the scene of the hit and run.
Oh, let me have a look in. English make. Probably from a Harley. Or some sport car like that. Found on the scene?
About 75 yards away. No proof it had anything to do with the hit and run.
How's the victim?
Condition fair. When the ambulance picked him up, he only got struck a glancing blow.
That still don't make no never mind. The perpetrator cut out. I want him brought in.
Oh, so do I. But it may be a little rough. Even if we find the car this belongs to, it doesn't prove it was lost hitting the victim. Could have been loose and just fallen off.
So you think we don't make the guy, huh?
My educated guess is that the odds are not so high.
Yeah, Brady, what is it? You don't say. Right with you now, huh? Well, how about that? Yeah, bring him right in. Educated guess, huh?
I was wrong.
Couldn't be wronger. Guy named Williams just came to the desk and confessed to making the hit and run. He's on the way in. You and he should get on together just handy. Guy's a college professor.
Your father hit someone with the sports car tonight? But that's impossible.
How can you say that, Mom?
Because he wasn't driving that car tonight.
How do you know? You didn't see him leave?
No, but I was awake when he drove in, and I could swear, I know he was driving the station wagon.
A father's sacrifice for his son. Surely a noble, if perhaps misguided gesture. The question, of course, is, should a young man, or anyone, be encouraged to evade responsibility? And will this simple act of altruism remain just that? We'll find out shortly when we return with Act 2. A precinct house in a large city, even at the best of times, is never the most prepossessing spot in the world. In the dog hours of the morning, dusty, dingy, tired paint peeling from the walls, half-empty coffee containers with cigar and cigarette butts floating in them, it is certainly one of the most depressing, or so Grant feels as he dictates his false confession.
As I say, I was dog-tired, very sleepy. It was only when I was putting the car away in the garage and I noticed a dent in the fender and found that one of the hubcaps was missing that I began to realize with horror that I might have hit an animal, an opossum or something. It never occurred to me that it might have been a human being. Well, I would have returned right away, but my wife, who has not been well recently, well, she was up. She was waiting for me, and I didn't want to alarm her. And so I coaxed her back to bed and to sleep, and I came here just as soon as I could.
And this was what time, Professor?
Almost exactly 2 o'clock.
And you could fix the time because you were listening to Long Jack on the car radio and he was signing off.
You like acid rock, Mr. Williams?
I beg your pardon?
Acid rock. You know, the big hard beat, loud enough to blow your mind.
Oh, no, I don't. Why?
Well, that's Long Jack's bag. It's most of what he plays, you know. I didn't figure you'd dig his scene.
Yeah, well, I didn't. I turned on the radio to keep me awake, not for music appreciation. As it happened, I didn't find the music particularly mind-blowing. As a matter of fact, I remember the last number he was playing just before he signed off was Easy to Love, and I wouldn't call that exactly contemporary.
The main point is that you made the turn at 2 o'clock. You felt a jarring feeling, which jives with our information, right, Rizzo?
Right, Lieutenant. I see. Victim left Franny's restaurant, 518 Hills Point Road, at approximately 2 minutes to 2 a.m. Because victim was discovered by George Bates, post office employee, some 2 minutes later. He heard a car drive away, but due to adverse weather conditions, could not see it or make any identification. Victim was Dominic Capello, unemployed, 61 years old.
Well, I hope he's all right.
He's at the hospital. We don't know the extent of the injuries yet.
I feel terrible, that poor old man.
Professor Williams, let me point out something. From your story and our evidence, there is no clear-cut evidence that you did hit this man. Now, if I were you, before I went any further, I'd get a lawyer.
Oh, there's no need for a lawyer. I'm quite willing to face my responsibilities. If you'll prepare a statement for me, I'd be very glad to sign it.
All right. I'll leave you here with Patrolman Foster, who'll type up a statement. You just check it over when he's finished, and then if you still want to, you can sign. I'll be right back.
Lieutenant, see you a minute outside.
Okay. All right, Rizzo, what's fighting you?
I think the guy's lying.
About what, for Pete's sake? Why would he lie?
To cover up.
Cover up who?
How do I know? His daughter, son, wife.
Why would he want to take the rap for them?
That's what'll take some digging to find out.
Oh, boy. 15 precincts in this city, 4 detective divisions, not to get stuck with you. You want to make a federal case out of one sneaky little hit and run, where the guy comes in like a good citizen and confesses, and just for once make the job easy? What do you got to do, go looking for trouble?
Now, Lieutenant, it isn't just the few small discrepancies, it's the whole psychology of the man.
Psychology, that's all I need. The new breed. Now, look, Rizzo, will you for once just forget the college education and get back in there and have that statement signed, sealed, and delivered, and stop making waves?
Mother, please, will you let well enough alone?
I've kept quiet about too many things for far too long, but I can't let this go. I know your father wasn't driving the sports car tonight.
Okay, so he wasn't. So you know what that means.
Oh, my darling,
You want to get me locked up?
No, of course not. But why should it come to that? You don't know yet if you really hit anyone or hurt them.
I'm not kidding myself. When I pulled away, I tried to tell myself nothing had happened. But now it's all on the table, and I know that guy got hurt. And I'm scared. I'm scared of what they could do to me.
Darling, there's nothing to be scared of in being honest, owning up. It was an accident. David, please.
Will you let me go?
I'm only trying to help you.
Oh, sure. Some help you are. I don't understand you, Mother. Look what Dad's willing to do for me, and all you want is for me to turn myself in.
I want you to be honest.
This is for laughs. Look, Dad went down there to take the blame so he could protect you as well as me.
Protect me?
Yes. He said it would kill you if anything happened to me.
Grant was worried about me?
Yes.
Don't you ever believe it.
Mom, how can you be so bitter? Look what he's done for me.
He's got to have an angle.
That's unfair. I know you and Dad have problems. I'm not going to try to make any judgments about it.
But you do. You make them every day in spite of yourself. And always against me.
Mother, I've had just about as much of this as I can take.
You know, the curious thing is that I know you love me in spite of everything. Just give me a moment.
What is it?
I don't stand much chance, do I? I spend so much time upstairs with myself. Very lonely with just yourself. I'm a woman not quite able to cope. A woman with hallucinations. It's something out of Dickens. Living among cobwebs of near insanity and the ghosts of what never was.
Mother.
Look, it's time I told you. Time I try to tell somebody. I'm a prisoner with a life sentence because I can't stop loving. To everyone else, I'm the ghost. But the truth is that the real corruption lies rotting in the very man we both love. David, I don't want to ever see you become like him. I would rather see you dead. That's why I want you to take your own troubles on your own shoulders.
Mom, Don't you think you ought to lie down? I mean, you're not...
It's easy, isn't it, to find a scapegoat, to make someone else responsible. Poor, mad, wasted Marion Williams, married to that intelligent, handsome man, respected by his faculty, worshipped by his students, particularly the girls. Oh, yes, particularly the girls.
Oh, Mother, for Pete's sake.
No, this time you don't stop me. I loved him so much I forgave all those early affairs. The young children invaded, cheapened. I saved him. I went to those girls. I begged them off. And after you came, the pattern continued. I began to retreat farther and farther. I had the money. That's why I could always keep him. And I couldn't stop loving him. That was the saddest part, wasn't it, David?
What?
I was the one who ruined him. Without me to cover for him, he'd have been found out long ago. So you see...
I don't know what you mean, Mom. I can't discuss what you've been talking about. But that has nothing to do with what Dad is doing at this moment. I've been drinking. I couldn't have gone to the police. Dad can handle this. Please, leave it alone.
And let you spoil yourself just as he did. The rot spread so fast, David.
The incident was totally minor in mine till I returned home, found that there was a dent in my front fender. Well, I've read this through, Lieutenant, and there's nothing here that isn't consonant with my earlier confession.
It's a formality, Professor. I prefer to have you read it aloud before you sign the statement.
If you insist.
It's better, Professor Williams. There is much more. Go ahead.
It's quite evident that I must have been responsible for striking with my automobile one Dominic Capello, 61, at approximately 2 a.m. on the above date. This statement is a true and unsolicited confession of my responsibility and...
Excuse me, Lieutenant.
Close the door, Rizzo. Come on in and hold it. You can go on, Professor.
In witness whereof I set my hand... if you have a pen, I'll sign.
Lieutenant.
What is it now, Rizzo?
Have you warned the professor again that he should have legal representation?
No, I don't need a...
I'll have to warn you, sir, that you may. The man was hit, just died in the hospital without regaining consciousness. It isn't just an accident anymore. It could be homicide.
Oh, come on, Rizzo. Manslaughter. But it does change things, Professor. If you sign this, I'll have to book you. There's a problem with bail. You should have a lawyer before you sign.
Well, nonsense. I want to sign. Let's not waste any more time, and then I'll call my lawyer.
All right. Detective Rizzo, will you witness this?
Yeah.
You'll have to be fingerprinted, Professor.
Whatever you say, Lieutenant.
Foster will take you to a phone first to call your lawyer about bail.
Thank you. And thank you, Detective Rizzo.
Don't mention it.
All right, now, Rizzo, don't say it.
I've got to. Something's out of kilter. I never saw a man so anxious to get arrested in my life.
He just wants to get it over with and get back to bed. Now, who doesn't?
It's wrong, Lieutenant. It's wrong. A cool, collected individual like that doesn't go around hitting panic buttons and taking a powder out of a bad situation.
Now, Joe, drop it. Lay off. Don't give me any more of the psychology. I'm just a plain flatfoot who came up through the ranks by sticking to one thing, facts. Let's give the guy a vote of thanks for coming in. My psychology is we leave it lay, huh? You got any other hunches? Save them for the ponies. Okay?
Okay.
What's on the bulletin, Rizzo?
Oh, same old noise, nothing special. They picked up that mugger in the second, a repeater.
What's happening with Professor Williams?
Huh?
Williams, the professor. You remember the guy we spent most of the night with?
Oh, yeah. Well, he got fingerprinted and his lawyer sprung him. He's going home. Hey, look at this, Lieutenant.
What?
That code 2. See the man in the 12th? That suicide was no false alarm. There was a DOA. Only now it looks like homicide. They figured the girl was strangled before the gas was turned.
Oh, what do I care about some dame in the 12th? The 7th is my baby. Let the 12th worry about their headaches. I'm taking you off.
Marion, for the last time, you stay out of this or I'll...
You'll what, Grant? Kill me? You did that a long time ago. The only reason I clung to any shred of life was because of David.
And a fine little mama's boy you made out of him. The moment my back is turned, he runs to you, he blurts out the whole thing.
Oh, no, he didn't. I figured out what happened myself. I saw you drive away in the station wagon.
Oh, why can't you mind your own business?
Because I don't trust you. And I want David to be a man and stand on his own feet.
Will you get something through that bird brain of yours? The man who was hit is dead. David had been drinking. You won't be emancipating your son. You'll be burying him in jail. Is that what you want?
You're hurting me, Grant.
Is that what you want? Or will you keep your mouth shut and allow me to do something for my own son?
Please let me go.
Not until I get your promise to leave things as they are.
I don't want David to go to jail.
All right, then. I can trust you.
Yes. I only wish I trusted you. You've never done one unselfish thing in your life, Grant. I only wish I knew what it is you expect to gain this time.
A torturing dilemma for a mother and father. Is the father right to protect his son, or the mother to feel it would be better for him to take his medicine? So many other questions pose themselves. Questions which will be answered when I return shortly with Act 3. Those questions I mentioned. Of course, Marion Williams would feel herself hurt by her husband's interest in other women. Or is that all in her mind? A figment fantasized by her obviously shaky mental stability. But then, there is also the doubts of Detective Sergeant Rizzo. Let's follow him for a moment.
Yes?
Is Professor Williams at home?
No, he has classes this morning at the university.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Excuse me, I'm Detective Rizzo. This is my shield. I wonder if I could talk to Mrs. Williams for a moment?
I'm sorry, but my mother, she's still asleep. She's kind of an invalid.
Oh, well, and I wouldn't think of disturbing her. You're Professor Williams' son, huh?
Yes.
Well, then how about you take the chain off the door and I step in and ask you a couple of questions?
Have you got a warrant?
A warrant? No, what would I want a warrant for? Look, don't let me be in a cop scare you.
Oh, I'm not scared.
You always keep a chain on when you open the front door?
No, look, I'm sorry. You're wasting your time. My father told me not to answer any questions.
Oh, then you know about the accident last night, huh?
Yes, but I'm sorry. I've got to close the door.
You drive, kid?
Sir, your foot's in the way.
Oh, yeah. So it is. Anyway, I figure you drive since you got a license. I looked it up in the bureau.
Would you move your foot, please?
Hold it just a minute. Here's your newspaper, huh? You might want to read about the accident. Page 4. Check out the details.
Thanks for the paper.
Sure. Here.
Will you let it go, please?
You, weren't out driving yourself last night, were you?
I'll take the paper.
Yeah. And now I know my hunch is right.
Come on. Where are you?
Hello?
David, where were you?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just bringing down Mother's lunch tray.
You should never answer the phone. Any mail? Any phone calls?
Just a couple of ads. No phone call. Oh, there was, we had a visitor.
Who?
A Detective Rizzo.
What did he want?
He said he wanted to talk to you. Then when I said you weren't home, he wanted to talk to Mom.
Well, you didn't let him.
No. She was asleep, so... He said he wanted to ask me some questions.
Good Lord.
It's all right. I didn't let him in, and I didn't tell him anything.
Well, I hope you didn't. He had no right, no right to... David, you're sure you didn't...
No, I didn't say anything, but I'm scared. I think he knows. I think he's guessed that
Now, listen to me, David. I don't care what he knows or what he suspects. He can't prove anything if we just stick to our story. Now, you get this straight, David. I'll kill you if you let me down. No, I didn't mean that. I'm just thinking about you. I don't want your life spoiled before it begins. Now, you just remember, a man has been killed. The real truth comes out, you're in trouble. Bad trouble.
I know.
Just so you remember, both you and your mother.
Okay, but supposing that detective turns up again?
He won't. You just leave that to me. Just leave everything to me.
I will. And don't think I'm not grateful. Oh, I don't know how I can ever pay you back.
You just sit tight and stick to our story. That's all the payment I need.
I quite understand, Professor. Detective Rizzo exceeded his orders. I promise you he won't bother your family again.
I'm sorry if I lost my temper, Lieutenant.
I don't blame you, sir. You'd feel better if you could get a load of how I'm going to lose mine. Get that note, Professor. Detective Rizzo check in yet? All right, tell him to lug his rear end here on the double. I'm going to bust him right down a patrolman.
You, looking for me, Lieutenant?
Yeah, come on in and close the door.
Jarvis on the desk tells me the Williams guy was on the phone having a fit.
Didn't I tell you to stop making waves?
Well, yes,
Did I
Lieutenant,
tell you the Williams case was closed?
It can't be closed as long as there's a charge.
That's up to the judge. Now, we've done our part. We have a statement and a confession. That's all we're supposed to provide.
Uh-huh. A phony confession.
What does that mean?
Now, look. That professor has a kid. Around 17, 18, huh? I talked to him today. I'll lay you dollars to donuts. He was the one driving the car with that accident.
You have any proof of that?
No, but give me an hour with that kid and I'll crack this case.
Detective Rizzo. Strong-arm methods from a member of the new breeds? I thought today's young cop was exchanging the third degree for a college degree.
You know I didn't mean anything like that, but if you just give me a chance to get to the bottom...
Why would a respected college professor, a guy as prominent in this town as he is, why would he risk his reputation to cover up something his son did?
I don't know.
I mean, this guy's a teacher. The last thing in the world he'd do is let his son run out on a responsibility.
Yeah, that's the way I see it. Psychologically...
Psychologically. Now, let's not get tangled up with that bull again, huh? We have a confession, Detective Rizzo.
Lieutenant, give me a break. I got the strongest hunch.
It isn't any stronger than mine. And mine is, if you don't let this lay like I told you, you're going to be back in your boondockers walking a beat as far uptown as these city limits stretch. Okay, Detective Second Grade, is this case closed?
Well, like you say, the case is closed.
Study, Mom. You all right?
I just want to talk a minute. What are you doing?
Just catching up on some homework.
David, that man, that detective you said came here, are you sure all he asked you about was the accident?
Look, Mom. I promised Dad I wasn't going to talk about it anymore. So did you. It's a closed book.
We're going to have to open it again. Did he ask you about anything else than the accident?
No, but...
Look, David... You have got to go to the police and tell them the truth.
Now, I promised Dad...
David, don't make me go.
You promised him, too.
You don't understand. Everything's changed. He has to be stopped. There must be some justice.
Mom, why don't you go upstairs?
Hey, look, don't treat me like an invalid, or worse, a half-wit. Have you read the newspaper that you brought up to me today?
No.
Do you know a girl named Susan Rowland?
Susan? Yeah, kind of. I mean, she was a class ahead of me at school. I guess I rapped with her here and there, but we never dated or anything like that.
That her picture?
Yes. Front page. What happened?
Read the story and find out. Carefully. Then you'll know why your father is so anxious to keep you quiet. David, You're going to find out why the truth has to be told.
Lieutenant Klamath here. How's everything with the talk, John?
You know how it goes with lieutenants in the police department, from bad to worse. A little favor, George.
Name it, you got it.
You see the DOA we had on the bulletin? Possible suicide, now definitely homicide.
The picture in the morning paper?
Yeah, that's the one. Susan Rowland, 19 years old, college student. We're running a routine check on all our acquaintances.
You got a make on anyone?
No. Fingerprints all over the place, but not even a warm lead.
Uh-huh. What can I do?
Well, I'm running down blind alleys. Like in her address book is the name of a guy, Grant Williams, domiciled your precinct. She seemed to have been in one of his classes at the university. Could you spare a man to check it out?
John, I don't even have to. I'll close one lead for you. What time did your little student get strangled?
Well, M.E. puts it at around 2 o'clock. At 1:55, she called her mother to say she was pregnant, and the guy who did it was with her. She started to give his name. The connection was broken. At 2:15, a prowl car responded to a code 2, suspicion of suicide by gas. They broke in, turned off the gas, but the girl had already been dead 10 or 15 minutes. So, 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock, eh? Well, that lets out Grant Williams. 2 o'clock, outside of town, 45 minutes away. He was involved in a traffic accident. He's already booked.
One down, how many to go? Thanks, George. Sorry to bother you.
How long ago did he leave?
Too late for you to stop him.
Oh, I ought to kill you for this.
Like you did that poor little girl.
No, I didn't mean to. The little idiot refused to have an abortion. She wanted me to marry her. Marry her, for heaven's sake.
Oh, and divorce your mule ticket.
Marion, please help me.
No, not anymore. Anyway, I couldn't even if I wanted to.
But David, maybe I can still stop David.
If you could, you'd still have to stop me.
And everything my father testified to in his statement was true, except that it was me who was driving the car, not my father. I hit that man, panicked, and drove off.
Well, don't look at me, Lieutenant. I have nothing to say.
You wouldn't have to, Rizzo. I know the boy's telling the truth. Yeah, you were right all along. I had a phone call about a half an hour.
I demand to see my son.
It's all right, Sergeant. Let him in. What is it, Professor Williams?
David, I don't want you to say one word until I've talked to you and we can get legal advice.
It's too late, Dad. I've said everything I have to say.
You don't know what you're doing.
For the first time in my life, I do. I'm taking care of myself. Oh, how could you do it, Dad, to a nice kid like Susan?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I can clear that up, Professor. We're booking you for the murder of Susan Rowland.
Oh, you can't. I have an alibi.
Correction. You had an alibi.
But I'm not guilty. And you can't prove it.
We will. With your help.
What do you mean?
It's ironic, isn't it? If you hadn't walked in here and made a false confession, we might never have had your fingerprints. That's what's going to nail you. You provided us with a whole set to match up. You were just a little too clever. You managed to hang yourself. All right, take him out and book him, Jarvis.
Dad,
Let him go, kid, huh? Let him go. There's nothing you can do for him. Now you go on with Foster. Let him type up your statement, huh?
What's going to happen to him?
He'll be found guilty, as he ought to.
And me?
You've taken a beating already. It's an accident. Won't be too tough. And things should be looking up from now on for both you and your mother. Go on, kid.
Okay, Lieutenant.
Well, I guess I ought to start to eat my hat, Rizzo, huh? But I'd rather just say I'm sorry.
Oh, no. Me too, Lieutenant. This is one time I wish I could just have been wrong.
When you're a cop as long as I've been, there'll be a lot more. I wish I could say you get used to it. Come on. Let's try the squad room coffee.
All right.
Bad as it is, it's better than the taste I got in my mouth right now.
So Marion's intuition was right, along with Rizzo's. And David made the first long stride towards being a man.
something else I'd like to say about that, but I'll return shortly. Not every story must have a moral, but I believe this one has. Not that crime doesn't pay, that's obvious, but that the acceptance of responsibility is a cornerstone of life. The Apostle John has saved us Jesus' words. You shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. Our cast included Arnold Moss, Ralph Bell, Clarissa Blackburn, Billy Redfield, and Christopher Tabori. The entire production was under the direction of Hyman Brown. This is E.G. Marshall, inviting you to return to our Mystery Theater for another adventure in the macabre. Until next time, pleasant dreams.
More music from KIXI, dialed 91 AM or 96 FM, Seattle.
The time, 10 o'clock.
CBS News. After 6 years of hassle, Interior Secretary Rogers Morton has signed the permit for the Trans-Alaska Pipeline. I'm Jim Kilpatrick reporting on the CBS Radio Network. Construction is set to begin this spring, but oil will not flow through the giant 800-mile pipeline for another 3 years. Even after completion, the pipeline will not reach its full capacity till about 1980, when it could be carrying about 2 million barrels of oil a day. Secretary Morton said the right-of-way permit allows the government to halt any construction activity that threatens the environment or public health and safety. Oddly enough, a 7,000-gallon oil spill was reported on Alaska's North Slope Wednesday. Cleanup operations are underway. Oil company spokesmen say the spill occurred when a valve was accidentally left open. Arab oil ministers will meet February 14th. One topic expected to be discussed is the possible lifting of the oil embargo against the United States. Egyptian President Sadat says only the Arab oil-producing countries can decide whether to end their embargo on oil shipments to the United States. Sadat had said earlier, now that the Americans have made a gesture, the Arabs should make one too, referring to the lifting of the oil embargo. Sadat just returned to Egypt from a tour of the other Arab states and reportedly asked the oil producers to reconsider their boycott. More news after this.
You don't see many people putting salt in their beer nowadays. Not that there's anything wrong with salt on radishes or French fries, but man, not in the king of beers. Truth is, the only thing salt can do for Budweiser is make it salty. An unwise thing to do to the only beer in America that's Beechwood aged. Unsalted Budweiser has become the most popular beer in the world. That's because in brewing Bud, the Budweiser brewmaster goes all the way for a taste, a smoothness, a drinkability you'll find in no other beer at any price. And something else you can take without a grain of salt. The fact that when you say Budweiser, you've said it all. Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis.
The Senate Watergate Committee has decided to hold 2 more weeks of hearings. The subject will be campaign contributions to Mr. Nixon's re-election committee from billionaire Howard Hughes and dairy industry cooperatives. The president's friend, Charles B.B. Rebozo, may be called to testify. The decision to continue the hearings was split along party lines. Democrats, yes. Republicans, no. Republican Senator Howard Baker of Tennessee.
I think that there's an honest difference of opinion in the committee. We've gone all these months in a very, very difficult, a very tedious, and a very delicate political atmosphere. We've avoided political polarization in the committee. I think the committee has served well. It has not always been successful, but I think on balance it has been very successful.
Senator Howard Baker. Bing Crosby remains hospitalized in California, but his doctors say he'll be going home soon. Ken Ackerman of KCBS reports.
Bing Crosby's personal physician says the singer is anxious to return home to the Hillsborough mansion to continue recovery. According to Dr. Stanley Handling,
Mr. Crosby is recuperating very well after his operation. The exact date of discharge isn't known, but he should be home within a week to continue his convalescence and recuperation at home and plan for the months ahead with his usual activities.
Those activities include plans for a fishing trip and a flight to the winter home in Mexico. Dr. Handling says Crosby has been responding well to medication, but the exact diagnosis of his lung ailment has yet to be completed. 5 laboratories around the country, including the Communicable Disease Center in Atlanta, are analyzing culture samples of a malady believed caused from the singer inhaled fungus-laden dust in Africa. This is Ken Ackerman for CBS News, San Francisco.
This is KIXI, AM and FM stereo, Seattle, 11 o'clock.
CBS News. New figures from the oil industry show the shortage is growing. This is Doug Poling reporting on the CBS radio network. The American Petroleum Institute, an oil industry organization, says crude oil imports continued to drop last week, and refinery operations went down with them. In spite of an increase in imports of refined oil products, total oil imports have dropped from 7.1 million barrels a day in early November to about 4.9 million barrels now. Economist Walter Heller offers some thoughts on the energy shortage, emphasizing the importance of America becoming self-reliant for its energy sources.
We have to develop ready reserves of oil in this country so that the Arab countries can never put us over a barrel again. We should never import more oil than we can afford to do without. And the only way to do that I can see is to develop our continental shelf, which is our oil, the people's oil, and see to it that that stands as a reserve.
I'll have more news after this message.
I'm Hy Brown, producer of Radio Mystery Theater. We're in our 3rd week of original radio dramas, and I'm glad to report we're not the only ones who are excited about it. A listener in Texas writes, it's the best thing to happen to radio in years. We'd like your comments, too. Right now, we're in the last week of drawings for valuable prizes, 50 of them. 2 AM/FM stereophonos, 2 travel clock radios, and 46 anthologies of modern suspense. To be eligible, just send us your name and address. Add your comments if you like. The address, Mystery Theater, Box 50, Radio City Station, New York 10019. That's Box 50, Radio City Station, New York 10019. Entries must be postmarked no later than Saturday, January 26th, or for good everywhere unless locally prohibited.
It's dark in the morning hours when millions of Americans get up and get going due to the resumption of daylight savings time early this month. There have been some problems, as we hear in this report from Ike Siemens in Miami.
The Dade County, Florida School Board may have become the first local or state body to appeal to Congress to end daylight saving time during the winter. The reason? Since it began 3 weeks ago, 13 elementary school students on their way to school in the pre-dawn darkness have been hit by cars. Last year, just 14 were injured during the entire 9-month session. The problem is that many elementary schools in the Miami area begin classes at 8 a.m., which is before dawn. Now, the board is attempting to push back the starting time to 9 o'clock in the wake of the rash of accidents. Many parents have reacted by sending their children to classes late rather than have them on the streets in the dark. Statewide, there have been at least 2 elementary school students killed in the past 3 weeks under similar circumstances. Ike Siemens for CBS News, Miami.
The U.S. government is thinking about importing wheat from Canada to make sure Americans have enough. Record high wheat exports and low reserves are being mentioned as causes of a potential wheat shortage in this country. In spite of the situation, the Department of Agriculture says there is no danger of an actual shortage of bread in the United States.
President Nixon is quoted as telling a group of Southern congressmen that it's unthinkable that he will resign and that he intends to fight down to the wire. Earlier, another congressman quoted the president as saying he is going to, in Mr. Nixon's words, fight like hell. The congressman, Republican Peter Frelinghuysen of New Jersey, said the president told him he will not consider resignation. The Ford Foundation said Wednesday night it is going to withdraw financial support from public television after a final major grant of around $40 million. David M. Davis of the Ford Foundation says public TV has been able to find sufficient other means of support. Since 1951, the Ford Foundation has given about $250 million to public TV. The Washington Post reports that former Vice President Spiro Agnew is working on a novel but has already been turned down by one major New York publisher. The Post report says Agnew's novel is about a vice president programmed for disaster by the Chinese communists. Post Society columnist Maxine Cheshire quotes the publisher as saying, "I'm not sure I'd want to publish Agnew unless he wrote Ulysses." Doug Poling, CBS News.
Come in. Welcome. I'm E.G. Marshall. Do you like riddles? Of course you do. Give me a good riddle that seems to defy solution, and I'll settle down happily to unravel it like a cat with a ball of twine. And like the cat, I usually succeed in making a tangled mess of it. But untangling a mystery, finding the answer to the riddle is fun. Unless, of course, you happen to be involved in it personally, and your life depends on finding a fast solution, like Rachel James. Our mystery drama, Key to Murder, was written especially for the Mystery Theater by George Lothar and stars Mercedes McCambridge. I might as well come right out and say it. I'm no Sherlock Holmes. Are you? Well, whether you are or not, here's your chance to match wits with Police Lieutenant Michael Forbes. Mike to you. Luckily, you have nothing to lose. Mike had everything to lose. The life of the woman he had come to love. The story begins in a certain old 4-story brownstone in a certain large city on a certain cold and wintry day. In the rather stuffy Victorian living room, Rachel James and her closest friend, Minerva Hall, are having a much-needed cup of tea.
Another cup, Rachel?
Oh, I guess so, Minerva. Might as well enjoy it while I can still afford it.
Oh, come on now. Things aren't that bad. Just because 2 of your roomers packed up and left.
Mm-hmm. Mrs. Parker's making noises about doing the same thing. I don't know that I want to go on living in a boarding house where there's been a suicide. That's what she told me this morning.
It's always darkest before the dawn, Rachel, and
Minerva, please. This is no time for one of your life can be beautiful proverbs. I'm in a real blockbuster of a bind. You know as well as I do that I've gone through an awful lot since I inherited this rooming house from Aunt Hattie.
I know it hasn't been easy for you.
Easy? What with inflation and taxes and mortgage payments and skyrocketing fuel bills and I don't know what all, I've just barely managed to keep my head above water. And now with 2 boarders gone, 3 rooms empty, counting poor Mr. Carson, I don't know how I'll make ends meet. I just don't know.
One thing you can do is stop worrying. We'll get by somehow. If worse comes to worse, you can always sell the place. And I've got my job at Gibbon Real Estate. Don't look at me like that, Rachel. After all, I am your oldest and closest friend.
Oh, my dear Minerva, let's face facts. You just get by as it is on what they pay you as a clerk. And there's... well... I don't like to mention...
I know. My mother. If it weren't for you footing the bills, I'd never be able to keep her in that sanitarium in Cleveland.
Well, that's another problem to worry about. What happens to her if I go broke?
Well, she is really not your responsibility.
Oh, but she is. She's your mother. I couldn't let anything happen to her any more than I could let anything happen to you. There's somebody at the door.
Maybe someone who wants to rent a room.
Yes.
Miss James?
Yes.
Lieutenant Mike Forbes, homicide.
Lieutenant, homicide? You mean the police?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, well, won't you come in? It's a terribly cold day, isn't it?
Well, cold and windy. I walked over from the precinct station. It was just a couple of blocks. The wind darn near blew this pipe of mine right out of my mouth.
I see you held on to it.
Oh, you object to pipe smoking, Miss James? I mean, if you do...
Oh, no, that's, quite all right. Well, now, Lieutenant, I have one or two rooms I think you might like. There's one on the 4th floor that's very spacious. It overlooks the garden in the back. It's very quiet.
Miss James, I'm not here to rent a room. I'm investigating the death of Harold Carson.
Oh. Will you come into the living room, then? Minerva, this is Lieutenant Forbes of the police. My friend, Miss Minerva Hall.
How do you do?
I do.
Won't you sit down, Lieutenant?
Oh, thank you.
Well, now, you say you're investigating poor Mr. Carson's suicide?
Yes, ma'am. The fact of the matter is, it wasn't suicide.
Not suicide?
No, ma'am. Harold Carson was murdered.
Murdered? Oh, but that's not possible.
Hmm? Why isn't it?
Well, you know how he was found, don't you? I mean, don't the police make out reports and things?
Oh, I read the dope sheet all right.
Well, then you know he was found on the floor with his head right next to the gas heater and all the jets turned on full.
Yeah, I know, but...
Minerva here and I smelled the gas, and we traced it to Mr. Carson's room, and we called to him. But he didn't answer, and then we tried to open the door. But it was locked on the inside. So Min and I had to break it in. And thank heaven she was here, because I'd never have been able to do it alone.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And there he was, the poor man. He was dead. A suicide.
Ma'am, I hate to disagree with you, but Mr. Carson was murdered. It looked like suicide, yes, but it was meant to look like suicide. But the autopsy report from the medical examiner's office states that the old man was first rendered unconscious by a blow to the head, and that death by asphyxiation, gas, followed.
Someone knocked him out and then turned on the gas?
Yes.
But he couldn't have been murdered. If he was, what happened to the murderer?
What do you mean?
Well, how did he get out of the room? The windows and door were locked on the inside.
No, that couldn't be.
Lieutenant, the key was in the door lock on the inside. This is an old brownstone with old doors, the kind that have those big keys, you know. And there's only one key to each room.
You don't have duplicates?
No, and even if I or someone did have a duplicate, you can't unlock the door from the outside without pushing the other key out of the lock. We'd have found it on the floor, but not in the lock.
Interesting. Very.
Oh, that match. Put it out.
Just relighting.
No, put out the match. I smell gas. Or I think I do.
Oh, not again. Not again.
You're right. I smell it now.
It seems to be coming from... Yes, it is. It's from upstairs.
All right, here. I'll go first.
Oh, if it's another...
It isn't. It can't be. Lightning never strikes twice in the same...
Oh, men.
Smell is strong, very strong, here on the 3rd floor. Yeah, it's coming from this room.
Mrs. Parker!
Open up. Open up in there.
Break it in. Break it in.
Here.
Mrs. Parker! Oh, Mrs. Parker!
No. Oh, no.
Open the window.
Let me. Locked from the inside. Door locked on the inside, too. Key in the lock.
Mrs. Parker. Oh, let's get her to the window. Fresh air.
No. Don't bother. She's dead.
But maybe if we can get some air into her lungs.
It won't cure a broken neck.
broken.
You can see the way it's twisted, Miss Hall. It's broken, all right.
Then she's been murdered, too.
Yes, Miss James. She's been murdered, too.
Hello? Oh, yes. Just a minute. It's for you, Lieutenant.
Oh, thank you, Miss James. You? Well, I've questioned all but one boarder, Inspector Morris. A guy named Whitman. No. I'll stick here. It's just 5 o'clock, and Miss James says he gets home promptly at 5 every day. Yeah, well, okay. I'll see you in your office. You look pretty beat, Miss James. Why don't you go to lie down for a while?
No, it isn't rest I need, Lieutenant. It's just a little peace of mind.
Yeah, I guess so. 2 murders in your house in less than 36 hours.
And a wrecked livelihood. 2 more boarders, after you questioned them, told me that they were moving out. And nobody is going to move in. You can be sure of that.
Things kind of rough, huh?
Oh, you don't know the half of it.
Mm-hmm. I haven't seen your husband around. You, widow, maybe?
I'm divorced.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you needn't be. He was a drunk. I put up with that for years. I would have gone on, I guess, except that he started to cheat on me. There was another woman. I never found out who she was, but I...
Oh, I guess this is Whitman, huh?
Yes, it is. Mr. Whitman, will you come in here, please?
If it's about the rent, Mrs. James, I didn't know anybody else was here.
No, it's not about the rent, Mr. Whitman. This is Lieutenant Forbes of Homicide. And according to him, Mr. Carson didn't commit suicide. He was murdered. And then just a couple of hours ago...
Let me handle this, Miss James. Sit down, Mr. Whitman. John C. Whitman, right?
Yeah, but what happened a couple of hours ago?
I'll ask the question, sir.
Well, you don't understand. I'm a newspaper reporter, Daily Globe. Well, not exactly. I want to be a reporter, and I need a break, you know. I keep looking for a break, and if there's been another suicide here, wait, you said murder.
There's been another death, yes. Miss James has filled me in on you pretty much, so just answer me a couple of questions now, huh?
Sure.
You work at the Daily Globe, 8 to 4:30, right?
That's right, 8-hour day, half hour for lunch.
Yeah. Now, Miss James tells me you always leave promptly at 7:30 in the morning, but today you didn't leave until 1 in the afternoon.
Well, sort of off my feed. I called in sick.
Yeah, on the day Mr. Carson met his death, on that day you called in sick too, didn't you?
What are you getting at, Lieutenant?
Well, just routine questions, Mr. Whitman. How well do you know Mrs. Parker?
Mrs. Parker? Did something happen to her? Is that what this is all about?
How well did you know her?
Oh, just to say hello to, that's all.
How well did you know Mr. Carson?
Same. Wish I'd known him better. If I'd known him better, I might have written a story my editor would have printed. But he didn't. Into the scrap basket. Says it wasn't good enough.
Mr. Whitman wrote an account of what happened the other day.
Thank you, Miss James. I assumed as much.
You're welcome, Lieutenant Forbes.
Well, thanks, Mr. Whitman.
Yeah, now, about Mrs. Parker. What happened? I could get my teeth into one good story. A scoop, you know? Listen, the city editor would make me a reporter, maybe. So, Mrs. Parker, what happened?
Mrs. James will tell you, or you can read it in the evening edition.
One suspect, Lieutenant. Is that all?
Yes, Inspector. Whitman. 32 years old. Been in newspaper work since he graduated from journalism school. Dying to be a reporter and hasn't made it all these years. He's hot for a scoop. The way it struck me, he could maybe be making his own scoop.
Well, if he made this one, how come he didn't cash in on it? You checked his city editor. He told you Whitman never said a word about Mrs. Parker's murder.
Yep.
Yeah, well, have a look at this dope sheet.
Harold Carson withdrew his life savings from the bank, $4,300, the day before he was murdered.
Read on, Lieutenant.
Mrs. Parker withdrew her life savings yesterday.
And not a dollar of that money, cold cash, was found in Carson's room or Parker's. You find out who's clever enough to pull this locked door trick. Who was clever enough to get Carson and Parker to withdraw every cent they had in the world, and you'll have your murderer. In fact, I may have your murderer for you.
I give
Rachel James. Mrs. Rachel James.
No, not her. Listen, Inspector, she's one of the nicest women I've ever met.
She's also a convicted felon, Lieutenant.
What?
Back in 1965, she served 6 months for theft.
The look on Lieutenant Mike Forbes' face reveals not only shock, but something else. I don't know what it is myself. Maybe, well, no, it couldn't be that. He's only known Rachel James a few hours at most, and I've never believed much in love at first sight. I don't know. Maybe we'll find out when I return for Act 2. How does a murderer, or anyone else if it comes to that, get out of a room when all exits, windows and doors, have been locked from inside? Impossible? No. After all, whoever murdered old Harold Carson and Mrs. Parker and tried to make their deaths look like suicide must have accomplished what only seems impossible. Up to this point, I've been unable to figure it out, and perhaps you have too. So let's join Lieutenant Mike Forbes in the living room of that old 4-story brownstone as he tries getting to the bottom of things.
Lieutenant, are you accusing me of murdering Mr. Carson and Mrs. Parker?
No, Mrs. James.
Then why did you come here to ask her if she'd ever been convicted of theft?
Now, Miss Hall, if you don't mind, I'd like to talk with Mrs. James alone.
I do mind. Rachel's my friend, my inseparable friend. Whatever you have to say, you can say in front of me.
Do as he says, Min. I'll be all right.
Well, if you need me, I won't be far off.
Miss James, I'm sorry if I'm causing you an embarrassment, but 2 murders have been committed in this house, and I've got to get at the truth of things.
I'm ruined, Lieutenant.
That bad?
It couldn't be worse. I'm afraid I'm going to have to sell, whether I want to or not.
Well, at least you'd get a good price. Land values in this area are high. Gone up, too, since they built that office complex and shopping mall over on 8th. Yeah, but, look, I've got to ask you these questions, Miss James, and it'll be in your best interest to answer them. Now then, you did serve a 6-month sentence for theft, didn't you?
Yes. And I suppose that, makes me a murder suspect right there.
Oh, no. I just have to check out everybody's all. Now, about that theft. Were you guilty?
No.
Was Miss Hall?
No. But it could have looked as if she was. And... Oh. You know. You've known all along.
Well, like I said, I've been checking.
Well, if you knew, why did you bother to ask?
To see how you'd react. You reacted fine.
Well, thank you.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to offend you. Getting back to the theft, your friend Miss Hall, well, her boss had given her $900 in cash to put in the bank. Is that right? Well, never mind. I know it's right. You came to the office to go to lunch with her and waited for her at her desk while she was in the ladies' room. When she came back, she opened her desk drawer to get the envelope with the money in it, and it was gone. Now, you just told me you weren't guilty. If that's so, why'd you plead guilty? Well, why?
To protect me, Lieutenant. Yes, I've been listening outside the door just in case you got too rough with Rachel.
Oh, Min.
You might as well know, Lieutenant. You probably know anyway. I stole that money.
Min!
No, it's got to come out now. My mother came down ill, very ill, and I needed money. When my boss gave me that $900, well, the temptation was too big for me. It was a stupid thing to do, especially since I was sure to be suspected, as I was. But that's when this wonderful woman here stepped forward and said that she'd done it.
Well, you had to be with your mother. She needed you. And I was divorced and living alone.
Oh, you sacrificed yourself for me, Rachel. And I'll never forget it. Someday I'll get the chance to repay you.
Yeah, well, I'll move along now. And thank you for being so frank and open with me about the theft of that money.
You knew anyway.
No, Miss Hall. I didn't know.
Then, as I see it, Lieutenant, you've got 3 suspects now.
3, Inspector?
Jack Whitman, Minerva Hall, Rachel James.
Rachel, Miss James, you can eliminate her. She didn't do it.
Well, you seem awfully sure of that. What makes you so sure?
Why, I just can't imagine her killing anyone. No, she's a very decent sort. Generous, sympathetic. Well, anyhow, that's the picture I get from the boarders I talk to and my own observation.
Attractive to whom?
Meaning what, Inspector?
Well, don't let any interest you may be developing in Rachel James put blinders on you. Now, about this Miss Hall, this close friend of Mrs. James, you say she admitted stealing that $900 and letting Mrs. James take the rap for her?
Yeah, but she's no common thief, Inspector. No, it's the Whitman guy who interests me. I talked to his editor at the Daily Globe. Seems Whitman has been knocking himself out to get to be a reporter for years, but just hasn't got what it takes. He fools himself into thinking all he needs is a break.
And you figure maybe he's making his own breaks with these murders.
That could be.
The more I think about it, Lieutenant, the more it seems to me cracking this case depends on finding the answer to those locked rooms.
I couldn't agree more. I checked the doors and the windows. They're solid. No gimmicks. You'll laugh, but I even checked for secret panels. Yeah, well, it's an old brownstone, you know. You never know what you might find, but no dice.
Well, keep after it. There's an answer. Find it.
Yeah. I got a feeling I better find it fast.
Why?
I don't know. Just one of those feelings you get. Feeling that tells me there could be another murder.
Rachel, this is Mr. Gibbon. Arthur Gibbon, my boss. Mr. Gibbon, Rachel James.
It's a pleasure, Miss James.
Oh, won't you sit down, Mr. Gibbon?
Thank you. Well, Miss Hall has told me of your situation here. Says that you talked to her about selling your house, and as I understand it, 2 murders have been committed in this house. Most of your boarders have moved out because of them, and, well, the house has gotten itself a bad name. That's unfortunate. It's most unfortunate. Brings its value down, you know.
Yes, I guess so.
Tell me, Miss James, you any idea what your house is worth?
Well, no, not really. I was thinking you might make me an offer.
Well, yes, I could. Under the circumstances, the best I can do is, the very best would be $50,000.
Oh, you're not serious, Mr. Gibbon.
Well, I'm afraid I am.
But the land alone is worth more than that. Much more.
Yes, but the bad name...
Mr. Gibbon, the house has a bad name so far as renting rooms to boarders is concerned. But if you are the businessman Minerva's always told me you are, you wouldn't be buying the house. You'd be buying the land to tear the house down and put up an office building or something.
Well, yes, that's true enough. But, well, the land isn't as valuable as I gather you think it is. And as I understand it, you have no option but to sell.
Well, I'm sorry, Mr. Gibbon, but your offer is much too low. I guess the thing for me to do is to, get bids, or whatever they're called, on the property, and, take the highest.
It's your house, your land. You can do as you wish. But I ought to tell you, you're making a mistake. As I said, land values are down. So if you change your mind, Mrs. James, you let me know, huh? My offer will still stand. No, that's all right, Minerva. I'll see myself out. Oh, you won't forget about the deeds.
What deeds?
Yeah, the ones I want to work on tonight.
Oh, yeah, those, yes.
I'll see you in the office then at 7.
At 7. I'll be there.
Goodbye, Mrs. James.
I could be wrong, Rachel, but I don't know. $50,000 seems like a good offer to me.
No, you could be right. But I'll shop around.
No.
There's no other way, man.
Then there's no other way, Art, and the hell with it.
Now you listen to me, baby.
Oh, no, Art, no. I've gone as far as I'm going to go.
This is no time to chicken out.
I never bargained for killing Rachel.
I didn't either. But how was I to know she isn't the naive pushover you told me she was?
Oh, it's that police lieutenant Forbes.
What do you mean?
Oh, there's a change in Rachel. A subtle change. I noticed it right after she met Forbes.
Well, I still don't get what you...
Neither do I. All I know is there's a man in her life again. For the first time in years.
Well, all right. So there's a change in her. There's $1 million
No,
riding
I
on it.
cannot kill Rachel. Carson and Parker, yes, they meant nothing to me. Nothing. I even conned them into taking their life savings out of the bank. Suckers. But to kill Rachel... No, Art, no, I can't do it.
You'll do it. You've got to.
I won't.
You were willing enough to wreck her boarding house business. Willing enough so I could move in, grab that property for 10 cents on the dollar.
Taking her money is one thing. Taking her life... No, Art, no. I guess there's some little spark of decency left in me.
Decency? You can talk about decency? Conning her all these years, sucking her dry like those monthly handouts to keep your dear mama in the sanitarium? Your dear mama who died years ago?
Money's one thing.
Money's everything. Without it, you might just as well be dead. Now, you listen. I didn't set this whole thing up. I didn't explain the locked door trick and everything.
A locked door trick that didn't work. The cops found out it was murder, not suicide.
Thanks to you, not me. If you'd suffocated Carson and Parker like I told you...
I couldn't do it. It was too horrible that way.
Okay. So you bashed one on the skull and broke the neck of the other?
Accidentally.
Deliberately. You did it. And now you do it to Rachel James. I don't care either. Do it.
No. What are you doing?
Calling the police.
What for?
To tip them off on how Carson was murdered. And Parker.
No. You're as guilty as I am.
But not as involved. In fact, I'm not involved at all, man. I've seen to that.
Give me that one. Filthy swine.
Tonight, man. Killer. Tonight.
Well, a spark of decency may still flicker in Minerva Hall's soul, but clearly it's been thoroughly quenched by Mr. Arthur Gibbons. Or has it? We'll see. We'll also see how someone can walk out of a room locked on the inside when I return for Act 3. A strange and baffling thing, human emotion. Even the most skilled psychiatrists, I'm told, have trouble unraveling the tangled skeins of motivation which drive us to do one thing or another. I'm thinking of Minerva Hall, who, though she murdered Mr. Carson and Mrs. Parker, is repelled by the prospect of murdering Rachel James. Makes sense, I guess. After all, they've had a close relationship for years. And as for Rachel, sensing that Mike Forbes is something to lean on, somebody who can give her some protection, perhaps even shield her against a world she's finding it more and more difficult to cope with, well, let's see.
Sit down, Lieutenant. Cup of tea?
No, thanks, Miss James.
It's a cold day. It's bitter cold. I thought you might like something to warm you up.
Well, I could use something.
You mean something stronger than tea? But you're on duty.
Well, not officially. Not officially, I'm not.
Well, scotch?
Yeah.
Bourbon, then.
Rye, actually.
Oh, dear, I don't think I... Well, I might. Let me look. Lieutenant, if you're not on duty officially, why are you here?
Oh, that, two reasons. One is your friend's mother.
Minerva, her mother?
Yeah. Is it a fact you've been helping to support Miss Hall's mother in a sanitarium in Cleveland?
Oh, yes. But how did you know?
Oh, there's lots of ways. Funny thing about police work. You start digging into one thing and you come up with 10 other things.
Oh, here you are.
Oh, thank you.
And, if you'd like to smoke your pipe...
Oh, well, thanks. Tell you the truth, I bought a new one.
A new pipe?
Well, the old one, I guess it was getting kind of rank. Try a new kind of tobacco, too. So if you really don't mind...
No. Well, you go right ahead. Oh, about Min's mother. Money has always been tight with Min, and I've just helped out where I could, that's all.
I see. What is it you like about Miss Hall so much? What makes her such a good friend?
Well, that's a funny question, Lieutenant. I'd do anything for Min, and she'd do anything for me. It's as simple as that. You said you had another reason for coming to see me.
Yes.
What is it? Well?
You. Now, wait a minute. Don't get me wrong, Miss James. Rachel. I don't know how to put this exactly, but, well, it's like this. Oh, hang it all, Rachel. I like you.
Well, I like you too, Lieutenant.
You do? Well, women, they scare me. Always have. But not you, though. You, well, you're... You know what I mean?
I think I do, yes. Come in. Oh, Minerva.
Feeling better?
Oh, sure. I just thought I'd lie down for a while.
Brought you a cup of broth. Good and hot.
Oh, thank you. That's very thoughtful of you. This bedroom of mine always has been chilly, even with the gas heater going.
Yeah, so here. This'll warm you up.
Mm-hmm.
So you did the town with Lieutenant Forbes last night, did you?
Uh-huh. It was a marvelous time. Just to be taken out again would have been fun, but Mike, he's a wonderful man, Min.
You better be careful. You know what they say. Marry in haste, repent in leisure.
Oh, Min, who said anything about marriage?
Your eyes and that look on your face, that's what says...
Oh, nonsense. There's no thought of marriage at all. We hardly know each other. Oh, I'm sleepier than I thought. I better start waking up. I have an appointment at Metropolitan Realty at 11 this morning.
About the house and land? Oh, drink that broth while it's hot.
Yeah. And I've got appointments at a couple of other real estate firms this afternoon, too. It's going to be able to get those bids I mentioned, baby.
You won't improve on the offer Mr. Gibbons made, Rachel.
Well, maybe not. Oh, good heavens. I can't be this sleepy.
Yes. Yes, Rachel, you can.
Oh, nonsense. I didn't get much sleep, that's for sure, but... Oh, what in the world?
Well, you dropped your cup and saucer.
Oh, I don't understand that. How could I...
You're drugged, Rachel.
Huh?
Sleeping pills in your broth. Enough to knock you out fast.
Sleeping pills? Min, what is this?
I don't want to do this, Rachel, but I got no choice.
No choice?
It's your neck or mine. It was Art's idea. Art Gibbons. We're lovers, Rachel. Well, we were.
Oh,
and
Min, how could you do this? How could...
Rachel. Rachel. Goodbye, Rachel. Coming. Oh, Lieutenant Forbes.
Miss Hall? Miss James in?
Oh, yes, but she's lying down. I hear you two painted the town together last night, huh?
Oh, I wouldn't say painted exactly. Enjoyed ourselves, though. Oh, Mr. Whitman, isn't it?
Yeah, how are you, Lieutenant?
Okay. Yeah, it's quite a bundle of laundry you got there.
Yeah, always go out and pick it up Saturday morning. My day off. Well, see ya.
I'll tell Mrs. James you dropped by, Lieutenant.
Oh, well, maybe she'll be up before I go. I really dropped by to see you, Miss Hall.
Me? About what?
No, one or two things. Your mother, for one.
My mother?
Yes. According to my information, Rachel's been supporting her in that Cleveland sanitarium for years, giving you a monthly check for just that purpose.
Oh, what of it?
I checked with the sanitarium. They told me your mother died 4 years ago.
Gas!
What?
I smell gas up here. Lieutenant, Miss Hall.
Hey, let's get up there.
It's coming from Mrs. James' room. Mrs. James' room right there.
Oh, no. It's locked. Rachel? Rachel!
Get out of the way.
Rachel!
Rachel! Whitman, get that window open.
Yeah, okay.
Rachel!
Window's stuck.
Break it fast.
Lieutenant...
No. Thank God, no. We got here in time. Get her to the window. Now, breathe, Rachel. And you, Miss Hall. Minerva, stay right where you are.
Oh, I'm just going downstairs.
Stay where you are. You're under arrest for murder.
Murder? Arrest? What are you talking about?
You know damn well what I'm talking about.
Oh, you're out of your mind. You're not making any sense. We find Rachel on the floor by the gas heater, the door locked on the inside.
Yeah, Lieutenant, the key is in lock.
You accuse me of murder?
Murder one. And I'll make it stick, Miss Hall. Oh, I take my hat off to you, Rachel. You sure know how to broil a steak.
I'm glad you enjoyed it, Mike. I will never understand how Min could have done to me what she did.
Well, it's easy enough to understand. For a cop it is, anyhow. I meet all kinds. Generous, greedy, those you can trust, those you can't. What makes some one way and some another, well, that I will never understand. People, you can't figure them out.
You figured out the mystery of the locked rooms fast enough.
Oh, that didn't take much. If Minerva had been smart, she'd have gotten away with it. I mean, if she'd used sleeping pills on Carson and Mrs. Parker the way she did on you, then maybe I'd have bought the suicide bit. But Carson and Mrs. Parker were obviously murdered. So the murderer couldn't have gotten out of their rooms, leaving them locked on the inside.
It's impossible, of course.
So I had to keep looking for the possible. In other words, how did the murderer make it look as if each door had been locked on the inside, when actually the murderer had left the room and locked the door from the outside?
And the answer, when you found it, was so simple.
Yep.
And once you found it, you knew that the murderer had to be Minerva.
Had to be. The murderer had to be present when those doors were broken in. You and she broke into Carson's room. And she was there when the three of us, her, you, me, broke into Mrs. Parker's.
And all Min did was to take advantage of the confusion.
And slip the key, which of course she kept with her, into the lock on the inside. As simple as that.
Well, you may call it simple. But I think it was a marvelous piece of deduction, for which you deserve more steak and potatoes.
Oh, no, I couldn't. I'm full up. I would like to smoke my pipe, though. That's okay with you?
You better know that it is. And it always will be. Mike.
As simple as that. The murderer locked the door on the outside and then, breaking in later, simply slipped the key into the lock on the inside. Simple? I think it's ingenious. I would never have thought of it. Would you? I'll be back shortly. You'll be glad to know that Mike and Rachel are married now, with 2 nice kids. And they live in Rachel's brownstone house. Sentimental attachment, I guess. Mike's made captain. And oh yes, he's got a collection of pipes now. 8 beauties. Each bought on the anniversary of the day he saved Rachel's life. Bought by Rachel. Our cast included Mercedes McCambridge, Mary Jane Higby, Robert Dryden, and Robert Maxwell. This is E.G. Marshall inviting you to return to our Mystery Theater for another adventure in the macabre. Until next time, pleasant dreams.
Welcome. I'm E.G. Marshall. There is a distinction between assassination and murder, though both end in the victim's death. An assassin generally kills a political figure or prominent person for a cause or notoriety, not revenge, not money. He is an optimist who appoints himself judge and jury and is generally an ordinary person. We meet one today who killed an American president. Our mystery drama, Portrait of an Assassin, was written especially for the Mystery Theater by James Agate Jr. and stars John Lithgow and Patricia Elliott. Some said he was a visionary. Some said he had delusions, but that there was value in his beliefs. But the means he used to benefit his country proved he was a misfit. Put a man on the scales. If he is in balance, the world gains. But if his purpose outweighs judgment, he is not a man, but a beast. How does such a man become what he is? Charles Guiteau, the assassin of President Garfield, started life with a golden rule, which somehow became tarnished along the way.
Last night, I had the first good night's sleep since I'd made up my mind to kill him. I slept like a baby, woke up refreshed, feeling fine. It's all because I was successful. Yesterday, I shot the President of the United States, and I know he's going to die.
Charles?
Yes? Who is it?
It's me, Moreland Finley.
Finley? You came after all.
I'm an attorney, and we've known each other a long time. You might as well have someone you know represent you. All right, guard, you may lock me in with the prisoner. Now, suppose we begin at the beginning, Charles, and you tell me all about it. All about it.
Finley, have you talked to Anna?
Your wife?
My ex-wife. Have you talked to her?
No, I haven't. Not recently.
You should. You should. Anna, why did you? Why?
Are you saying, Charles, your ex-wife, Anna, is implicated in this?
I don't know. If I'd never met her, would I be here?
Was all this her idea? Is that what you're saying?
It was my idea. All mine. She had nothing to do with it.
I want you quietly and reasonably to tell me when you first decided.
How long can we live with tyrants, with injustice?
Charles, do you understand why you're in jail?
Of course. I planned it that way. Finley, I've changed my mind. I don't need a lawyer. It's only a matter of time. Maybe minutes before they'll come for me.
Who?
Why, General Sherman and General Grant and the people. Once everybody hears what I've done, they'll rise up and acclaim me. Don't you understand?
Not quite, Charles.
I have rid the United States of America of its greatest enemy. Removed him. I'm a patriot. So I can accept all this, being placed in a cell overnight. It has to look all according to the books. Did you see the pistol I used?
Yes, I've seen it.
I bought one with a bone handle because I knew it would look better in a museum. Anyway, I don't think I need a lawyer, with all due respect to you, Finley.
Charles, you do. Not everyone will understand that your motive was patriotism.
People are so blind. I'm sorry, I'd offer you a cup of tea or coffee, but I'm not in my own house.
Did you ever have a house of your own?
Oh, certainly. I didn't always live in rooming houses. To look at me now in this bedraggled condition, you'd never believe I had a house, a wife, an excellent position in an attorney's office, Humphrey & Walters in Chicago. You probably heard of them. Yes. I had a house and a wife. Anna. Oh, Anna.
Tell me about Anna.
I'm trying to remember. Was it 12 years ago? Was it really that long ago?
Tell me about Anna.
I met Anna. We met at the... Where was it? The Y. Yeah, the YMCA in Chicago. 12 years have gone. She was working in the library in the YMCA. How pretty she was.
Yes, can I help you?
Do you have a copy of Blackstone's commentaries? I can't find it in the stacks anywhere.
Blackstone... I'm not sure. I don't believe we have.
Sir William Blackstone? You must have. Why, he's the Bible for jurists.
Are you an attorney?
Yes, I am. I'm with Humphrey and Walters here in Chicago. I guess I'll have to look elsewhere.
Oh, I wish I could be of help to you, Mr.
My name's Charles Guiteau. That's French.
French? You speak English very well.
Well, I've traveled a great deal. One picks up things. I also speak German.
I don't speak any languages. It's a defect I'm going to correct as soon as I can.
Your parents are...
That's the problem. They both died not very long ago, and I'm living with my uncle. He's a very well-known lawyer, too.
Isn't that a coincidence? I beg your pardon, miss, but, what did you say your name was?
Anna. Anna Bunn. B-U-N-N.
Oh, Anna. That's interesting. I've made quite a study of names. Do you know what Anna means?
No, I don't. I never thought about it.
I must tell you sometime. An unusual name.
No, it's not.
But then you're an unusually attractive young person. A great deal is revealed in a name.
I'm sorry about the Blackstone. I wish I could have helped you.
Perhaps, Miss Bunn, there is something you could do for me.
There is?
May I have the honor of calling on you this evening at your uncle's residence?
Uncle Ted, I met the most peculiar man today in the library. I mean peculiar nice. He's coming to call on me this evening.
What? Tonight? Here? Call on you? Who is he? You just met this man in the YMCA?
He's an attorney with Humphrey and Walters.
Well, that's one aspect in his favor. Well, what time is he coming?
He said he'd be here at 8. Uncle, you're not angry with me. He'd like to meet you. He really would.
No, child, I'm not angry. I realize you're becoming a woman, and it's, I suppose, quite normal to...
Uncle Ted, do you know what my name means?
Your name? Anna? What Anna means?
He said it was something nice, but I thought maybe you'd know.
Well, there's a great deal an attorney is required to know, but the meaning of people's names is not one of them.
That must be him. And it's 8 o'clock.
Punctuality. An excellent virtue. What is the gentleman's name?
Charles Guiteau.
Anna, you let him in. I have some briefs to prepare. I shall join the both of you in an hour.
I tell you, from nowhere. He did it. Oh, others can do it. James Abram Garfield rose from nowhere. Born in a log cabin, from a common laborer to a college president. It wouldn't surprise me in the least if someday he attained the highest office in the land.
The president?
Because he knows where he's going. Self-improvement. That's the American way, and it's my motto, Anna. May I call you Anna, Miss Bunn?
Well, I suppose so. Although I don't know what my uncle would say.
Oh, he's an attorney, you told me. I'm sure he looks ahead. Besides, we're almost into the 20th century. 1868. Don't you feel the magic of those numbers? I voted for Ulysses S. Grant, and he became president. 1868. What a year this is. Did you hear that a tremendous meat packing company opened a big plant here in Chicago? Progress. The American way.
Oh, you have a great many facts at your fingertips, Mr. Guiteau.
But they're not as delicate as yours, Anna.
Oh. What legal work do you do, Mr. Guiteau?
You may call me Charles.
You were going to tell me what my name meant.
So I was. Anna means the graceful one. A magic name for beauty walking.
Oh, my goodness.
The shoe fits. Like Cinderella's slipper.
Charles, your name, what does it mean?
Charles comes from the Latin Carolus, and it means strong and manly.
And it also means spurious, deceitful, and false. I suggest, Mr. Guiteau, as you take up your hat, walk yourself to the front door and let yourself out of this house.
Let me explain.
No, there's nothing to explain. I happen to know Judge Walters as an old friend and neighbor. I saw him just now, and he informed me that although you're employed in his legal firm, it is not as an attorney, but as a clerk. Do you hear that, Anna? A clerk.
Sir, I ask again that I be permitted a few words.
Go ahead. Keep them brief.
I admit I passed myself off as an attorney to your niece. But the circumstances are extenuating, sir. I was not lying to her, per se, because I always think of myself as an attorney. It has been my life's ambition. Not deceit, sir, but ambition. I was ambitious to know your niece better. I was ambitious to meet her uncle. I am ambitious to make the law my career. And to that, and that alone, I plead guilty.
Guiteau, I see in you the makings of an excellent trial lawyer. I wish you good night. Anna, when Mr. Guiteau leaves, make certain all the gas is turned down. Well, good night, sir. Come see us again. Good night, Anna.
Good night, Uncle Ted.
Now, where were we?
Oh, you were magnificent.
Oh, it's nothing.
Uncle Ted is right. You are going to do very well.
Well, of course I am. I don't need him to tell me that.
You could tell everything about you when you spoke. You really are the most interesting man I've ever met.
And you're the loveliest lady I have ever met. Why do you work in that library, Anna? Surely your uncle...
Well, yes, he could take care of me easily, but I want to work. I want to learn. I want to do something.
I think we're very much alike. I hope we can become good friends.
I would like that.
You really think I made a good impression?
On Uncle Ted? Oh, I know when he's pleased, particularly when he takes a firm stand and then finds himself persuaded against his initial judgment. He liked you, Charles.
I'll make myself worthy of his friendship and his endorsement.
What do you mean?
When I take my bar examination, one word from an attorney of his standing, and I'll be able to hang out my own shingle in 6 months.
Like the pieces of a puzzle, those making up the portrait of Charles Guiteau are beginning to fit together. But like all men who believe so strongly in themselves, who have no friends but themselves, they are their own worst enemy. The paths of Anna and Charles have come together. Will they run parallel or cross? I shall return shortly with Act 2. Charles Guiteau, 39 years old, sits in Washington's District of Columbia jail the morning after he has fired 2 bullets into the back of President James Garfield. His attorney, Moreland Finley, is questioning Guiteau, trying to put together a case for the defense.
And did your wife's uncle intercede with the bar examiner on your behalf?
Of course he did. And I became a lawyer. Not that I wouldn't have anyway.
It didn't occur to you that having your wife's uncle put in a word for you was not exactly the proper way to pass an examination?
It was my character he endorsed, not my ability. Finley, wake up. That's the way things are done. This is America. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours.
I don't understand.
Anna's Uncle Ted was glad to get rid of her. I was an excellent prospect for marriage. By helping me, he was ensuring his niece's future. And I was a good husband. I did everything I could until... I despise her now. Marrying Anna was the biggest mistake I ever made.
She has asked to see you.
Here? In jail? I won't allow it. I want to have nothing to do with her.
If that's so, Charles, why did you marry her?
Because I married Anna because I loved her. That was then.
Want to tell me about it?
I remember the very day. It was a year after we'd married. Anna? Anna, I'm home. Anna, where are you? Anna, what are you doing lying on the bed in your bathroom? We're supposed to be going out tonight to celebrate.
We are? Celebrate what?
Anna, what's the matter with you? It's our first anniversary. We've been married a whole year. Well, you know that. Come on now, honey. Get dressed. I've got a table reserved for us at the Wisteria.
Charles, Mr. Tupper, the landlord was here.
What, again? I told him last week I'd start paying him back what we owed him and not to worry about it.
Charles, he says if he doesn't get the past 6 months' rent by Friday, he's going to evict us.
Oh, just let him try. After all, I'm a lawyer. I know the law. Wait till I show you the snazzy suit I bought in your honor to celebrate our anniversary. I told the salesman, never mind the box. I'll be wearing this suit in half an hour. Feel that material, honey. The latest thing, Cheviot. Now, you get dressed.
How did you pay for it?
I charged it.
How are you going to pay for the dinner?
Just put my John Hancock on the check. They know me at the Wisteria. They're thinking of hiring me as their attorney.
I'm sorry, I don't feel well, Charles, and I don't want to go there. We mustn't run up any more bills.
All right, then. I'll go get a bottle of wine. Put it in the icebox, and we'll celebrate here. I tell you what, you order what you want, and I'll make dinner for us. I'll cook it.
On what?
On our stove, of course. Anna, what's the matter with you? Don't you think I can cook?
Charles, they came today, and they took the stove away.
Who did?
Bradford's, where we bought it, and they took the icebox away, too. Oh, Charles, how long is this going to go on?
Oh, I'm having a little hard time getting established. Be patient.
But you spent everything we saved. Everything Uncle Ted gave me when we married. New suits, dinners. Oh, Charles, we have to be careful.
You've given me an idea. Your uncle. When he gets back from his vacation, I'll ask him to advance us something. I've never asked him for a penny. Your uncle owes you something. Well, he owes me something, too. I took you off his hands. So the least he could do...
What did you say?
Well, a couple of $100 is the very least he could do. And he won't even feel it.
You took me off his hands?
A figure of speech, more or less.
No, I won't.
Anna, don't make me angry. I'll tell him about the account I'll have, the Wisteria restaurant. Just a couple of $100. Enough to get old Tupper off our backs.
Oh, Charles, what does the restaurant want a lawyer for?
To collect from all those people who signed for their meals and haven't paid up. I'm the ideal attorney for them. Now, how to celebrate. I've got it. Don't get dressed. Stay as you are. Your hair in a mess, just the way it is. Go downstairs and knock on Tupper's door. Tell him you're so ashamed. You've spent all the household money and you wanted to buy me an anniversary present. Can he loan you $20? We're already into him for 6 months. What's another 20? Then we can go out, have ourselves a whale of a time, and it's all paid for. Stop crying.
I'm so ashamed. Having to leave Chicago like this and not telling anyone.
We didn't have to leave. I decided New York City would be a better opportunity.
To be locked out of our rooms, Charles, it was so shameful.
Old Tupper didn't reckon with me, did he? There he is, having dinner, and I'm up in our rooms right under his nose, quietly taking away all our own things and hauling it off in that hired express wagon.
Charles, when we get to New York, where are we going to stay?
The best hotel we can find. You have to look prosperous in New York. Success must be written all over you. Nobody looks twice at failure.
You know, Charles, I think you should try politics. You'd be very good at it.
You think so? I agree. Politics. Attach myself to a meteor, and as he blazes through the sky, so shall I.
But how will you know who to follow?
Well, there's a presidential election coming up. There's a man running on the Democratic and Liberal ticket. Horace Greeley. Horace, from the Latin, Horatius. Light of the sun. That's my man. I want to stand in that light. Work for Greeley, and that's the road to success.
Charles, you mustn't fail now.
I won't. Why now?
Well, because, Charles, we're going to have a baby.
A baby? Anna, darling, you're going to have a baby. I'm going to have a baby.
It's a dream come true. Did that ever happen to you, darling? All of a sudden, a dream come true?
No, never. Just the opposite in my life. Until now.
So, you see, things change. Now we'll have a baby.
It would be wonderful.
It will be wonderful.
If I don't get dealt another hand from the bottom of the deck.
Oh, don't be so pessimistic, silly.
You're right, Anna. Go on, Mr. Engineer. Blow your train whistle for New York. Success and our baby. Anna, come on, follow me. We climb out this window and walk down the fire escape to the street.
I can't. I'm afraid it's so high.
What are you talking about? The whole hotel is only 5 stories high, and we're on the 3rd floor.
I can't go out there, Charles. I can't.
So what do? Wait till morning, till they take everything away from us? Anna, are you going to stand in the way of my becoming an important politician in New York? Now, come on.
You, an important politician. Nobody knows you exist. It's the same old story. We run up bills, we can't pay the rent, and have no money because you have no job.
No, I don't have a mere job. I have a position with the Republican Party. I speak at rallies for Horace Greeley.
But you never told me that.
Well, now I have. If anyone in the party finds out we had to take a moonlight flit, I can kiss my future goodbye. Now, just step over the windowsill. I've got the bag.
I can't.
Anna. I'm sorry I slapped you. You try the patience of a saint. Now do it. Follow me down one step at a time.
All right. I'm coming.
Oh, my darling Anna. It's so good to see a smile on your face. You see, this rooming house is quite cozy. I hope they fixed the loose step.
I told them again, but I'm careful. I step over it. I don't mind, and neither does he.
You mean our son?
Oh, I'm sure it'll be a boy. Oh, he kicks so hard.
I was telling Mr. Greeley about the baby today. I said to him, Mr. Greeley, I'm working as hard as I can for you to get elected because I want my son to be kissed by the President of the United States. Mr. Motorman, would you slow up this trolley when you get to 22nd Street? That's where I have to get off. I said, could you slow up, please? Slow down the trolley. I'm running my cane through the front glass window. I told you to slow. You refused. I am Charles Guiteau, a prominent member of the Republican Party. My wife is ill. I have a message to get home as quickly as possible, and you are hindering me. I shall report you to the authorities. Get out of my way, woman! Can't you see I want to get to the door?
Are you Charles Guiteau?
Yes, I am.
I'm Mrs. Hager, the midwife.
The midwife? Did you come to see Mrs. Guiteau? Has she delivered her baby?
Mr. Guiteau, sit down. Here, on the steps, next to me.
But I want to go up and see my wife.
There's time for that. She's resting. Comfortably.
Then you saw her?
I've been with her, yes.
Well, we didn't expect a baby for another month. Is Anna all right?
She's all right, but she lost the baby.
What?
Yes, your wife fell down the steps.
Oh, Lord.
Now, you sit here on the stoop and try to gather yourself together.
She fell down the stairs. It was that loose step.
She's very brave, your wife is. She'll be fine.
Why me? Why me? Why is everything visited on me? You ask yourself, Anna, what does it all mean? First, our baby who isn't even born. Then Horace Greeley, one of the greatest men who ever lived. He's defeated. And in 3 weeks, he's dead. Everything I touch withers away, dies. Everything that has meaning.
Charles, one must go on. You've been dragging yourself around for weeks now. Charles, what are we going to live on?
I don't care. I never had a dream come true.
And you said no, never?
I said I didn't believe in dreams coming true. Something always deals you a bad hand from the bottom of the deck.
Oh, I can't stand it when you go on and on like that. I'm so tired of hearing you moaning and groaning around the house every day. I thought I was marrying a man.
You didn't choose me, Anna. Do you think I would have looked at you twice if your uncle hadn't been a prominent attorney and could give me a leg up?
What makes you say such hateful things, Charles? You loved me and I loved you.
Is it all in the past tense? Is it all past?
That's up to you, isn't it?
If one could look deeply behind the mask that hides our suffering, we might have an inkling of what compels certain inexplicable actions. We shall look further at Charles Guiteau, driven by ambition, seemingly cursed by the fates, a man who, in spite of himself, turned history upside down, when I return shortly with Act 3. The records show that from this time on, Charles' wife, Anna, began to fear for her life. She was afraid her husband was losing his mind, that he had little control over his actions. Each day brought new delusions and new terrors.
Anna, did you kill our baby?
Charles!
I'm not mad, you know. Nor am I blind. Did you deliberately walk on that loose step because you didn't want us to have the baby? You did it on purpose, didn't you?
I can't stand to listen to this anymore. I'm leaving until you come to your senses.
You're going nowhere.
Let go. You're hurting my arm.
You will leave when I tell you to leave. I'm your master. Do you understand that?
Yes, Charles.
You will do as I say.
Yes, Charles.
That's better. I've decided to go to Washington.
Yes, Charles.
If Greeley had lived, I would have been his minister to Chile. You know that, don't you?
I know that, Charles.
Well, that's why I decided to remain in New York.
You said Washington.
I said no such thing. I said New York. I shall open an office downtown to collect bad debts. I shall become wealthy. Then, with that money, I'll return to politics. And I expect to find you here when I do, Anna. I've been thinking, Anna. I've never put the finger on your uncle. If I wrote him, do you think he might be able to advance us a little money?
I'm sorry, Mr. Finley. My husband isn't home, but I expect him pretty soon. If you'd like to wait.
Mrs. Guiteau, your husband has rented space from our legal firm down on Liberty Street. We gave him a desk from which to conduct his business. This is rather embarrassing.
You sure you won't have some tea, Mr. Finley? Charles ought to be home soon.
No, thanks. Since you and I have never met, have my card. Warren Finley, attorney. Your husband isn't in New York, Mrs. Guiteau. Not at this moment.
Oh. I was afraid so. I'll be honest with you. I haven't seen him in 4 days.
You see, over the weekend, Charles managed to have the desk he was using removed from our building. We traced it to a used furniture dealer to whom he sold it.
Are you sure?
Unfortunately, yes. He told the dealer all he wanted it for was to have enough money to get him to Washington.
Charles, how stupid.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Guiteau. Obviously, you know nothing about any of this. I can see that your problem with your husband is far greater than ours with the stolen desk.
Oh, Mr. Finley. I'm afraid. And I'm alone, really. I had an uncle, but he just died. I just found out today. I don't know whom to turn.
Well, let me help. Sooner or later, your husband will come back to New York, and I'll have a talk with him.
Something's happened to him in just the past year. I don't know him anymore. He acts as though the whole world owes him a living. More than that he should be recognized and famous.
Perhaps Charles isn't well.
I don't know.
You will forgive me, Mrs. Guiteau, for a personal observation. Are those bruises on your arms, on your face?
Yes.
I think it's you who needs to be protected. And when I see Charles, I'm going to tell him so.
Finley, I'm sorry you're upset about the desk. Of course I'll pay for it. It was the weekend. I needed the fare to Washington. I couldn't reach you. I mean, what else could I do? You knew I was good for it.
I went to see your wife, Charles.
Oh, did you? I haven't seen her yet myself. I came right down to the office from the train. She's in for another shock, I'm afraid. Her uncle passed away. I learned that while I was in Chicago.
I thought you said you went to Washington.
By way of Chicago. I wanted to see Uncle Ted first. I was too late. Not a dime.
What do you mean?
He didn't leave us a dime. Not anyone. Didn't have a dime. An illness took everything. Now, Finley, if you can wait just a few days, I will pay you for the desk. In the meantime, do you have another one I could use?
I don't know that we ought to do that.
But all my stationery is printed giving 96 Liberty as my address. I have to run. I've been gone a week, and Anna will be worried. But she'll be happy when I tell her I've got excellent prospects for a political career. Someday, Finley, you'll boast that you rented office space to the Minister of France, Charles Jules Guiteau.
Charles, Anna isn't at the apartment.
She isn't?
I advised her to move out, and she has.
What is all this? Where is she?
I'm sorry, but I can't tell you.
Finley, I will institute proceedings against you, accusing you of kidnapping my wife. I warn you.
Right now, at this instant, you believe you'll file suit, Charles. But you won't carry it through. You may strike a woman, but in a man's world, you're not a man of your word.
You're not even a man.
You think so? You don't know me.
I wish I knew what to advise you. You appear to live in a world that doesn't exist.
Does that mean I can't have a desk here?
I'll find some space and a desk. At least that way I can keep an eye on you. Hello, Charles. May I share this bench with you?
Don't talk. The pigeons don't like noise when they're eating.
What do you feed them?
Crumbs and seeds.
It's been a long time. I didn't know you were still in New York.
I have an office uptown.
Doing well?
I was until today. Did you come to crow, Finley?
I don't know what you mean. Have you heard from Anna?
No, why should I? Please don't talk about her.
You hurt her a lot, too.
I was angry at the time when she divorced me. I'm not angry now. Hand me that bag of bird seed next to you, Finley.
If she'd stayed married to you, how would she know you wouldn't get angry again and hurt her?
Because I loved her. But that's all over. Everything's over. Did you see the Herald this morning? James Gordon Bennett's filthy sheet?
No.
You'll enjoy it. Third page headline. A profitable collecting lawyer.
Hey, that's a picture of you. What's this about?
They claim that when I collect money due a client, that I keep everything I collect as my commission.
How did they get this story?
Somebody's out to get me. Ruin my business. Ruin me. I don't know why I should be surprised. It's been that way all my life.
Guard, may I have another 10 minutes with Mr. Guiteau? And I'll be finished talking to him then, and you can let me out. That was the last time we met, Charles, in the park in New York when you were feeding the pigeons. Until...
People are so selfish. Somebody has to take care of those birds.
Until this morning here in Washington.
Finley, old friend, do you think you could handle my defense?
It depends on what I can prove. There's no question but that you shot President Garfield yesterday morning at the Baltimore and Potomac Railroad Station.
It was the only way to save the country.
How did you come to decide that?
When Greeley lost, I wanted Garfield to be elected, so I worked for him. I wrote pamphlets, cornered politicians, did everything I could. I put in to be a consul or minister to France or Austria, my languages. Garfield owed it to me. I got him elected.
I didn't know you spoke those languages.
I deserved that. Most of those appointments go to friends who couldn't find those countries on the map. So every day I'd go to the White House and leave a message to remind the president I wanted one of those jobs.
Did he know you?
Of course he knew me. It had been me stumping for him, speaking everywhere. There isn't a street corner from here to New York I didn't speak at. Finley. I swung that vote. And then, about 6 weeks ago, Garfield betrayed me. He betrayed all of us. I'd gone, as usual, to the White House.
Good morning, Mr. Guiteau.
Did you pass my message of yesterday in to the president?
I took care of it. You know, the president is very busy.
You don't have to tell me. I know how time-consuming the affairs of state can be. He and I have often joked about it.
You've talked to the president?
Well, not recently. I knew Jim and his family back in Ohio. Did you know he was born in a log cabin?
No, Mr. Guiteau, I didn't.
Mm-hmm. Born in Orange, in Cuyahoga County, Ohio. We were neighbors. He ought to make his decision about who is to be the next minister to Austria pretty soon.
Minister to Austria? You told me France yesterday.
I did. France wouldn't be much of a hardship. But I've written him I plan to marry a very wealthy Austrian lady so that we can entertain in high style in Vienna. That's important, you know.
Mr. Guiteau, I've been asked to ask you not to come to the White House anymore.
I don't understand.
Orders have been given from a very high level. It's not my doing that you're not to be admitted through the gates after today.
It's incredible. Why, I put Garfield into the White House. It was my pamphlets, my speeches. You know he won by a very narrow margin, and it was I, Charles Jules Guiteau, who got him elected.
I'm sorry, sir. I didn't know that. Now, if you'll excuse me.
I left the White House and went to my rooms. What should I do? That night, for the first time, I heard a voice. Kill Garfield. Kill Garfield. Kill him. Kill him. It was the only answer. Rid the country of that man. Remove him permanently from office. Now I knew. After 39 years of wondering why I'd been placed on this earth, I knew why. I suddenly had a meaning. I, Charles Jules Guiteau, had but one purpose in life, and that was to save the Republic.
The past and the present tell us we are at the mercy of those self-appointed saviors who all too often see death as the all-purpose answer. Charles Guiteau, the assassin, had a vision to heal the blindness of sight. Unhappily, it was he who was blind. I shall return shortly. There are some who say no man in high office is safe from the assassin's hand. That in this country, the mere fact that one American is exalted above others fuels the fires in the dark minds of fanatics. In that respect, our era might be called uncivilized. Because we of Mystery Theater believe only the clear light of knowledge and understanding can protect society, we have presented this portrait of an assassin and hope someday we can call ourselves civilized. Our cast included John Lithgow, Patricia Elliott, and Robert Dryden. The entire production was under the direction of Hyman Brown. This is E.G. Marshall inviting you to return to our Mystery Theater for another adventure in the macabre. Until next time, pleasant dreams.
I'm E.G. Marshall. It is said that opportunity is like a knife. It can serve or sever our hopes, depending on whether it is seized by the blade or the handle. The knife, mankind's first invention and symbol of our dual nature. The assassin uses it to kill, the surgeon to cure. The same edge, the same point, the same steel. Our mystery drama, The Artist, was especially adapted from the Guy de Maupassant classic for the Mystery Theater by Sam Dan and stars Michael Wager. When we think of romance, we dream of young lovers, Romeo and Juliet. Who wants to know about men and women who grow old together in contentment and tranquility? Give us the flaming passion of youth. That is what our story is all about. That thwack you hear is the sound of a large knife with a needle point and a murderous edge being thrown against a board by Professor Raoul Delacroix. Standing against the board is Mademoiselle Fifi, charming young lady with the face of an angel and the nerve of a devil, because the professor, from a distance of 30 feet, is outlining her body with those deadly knives of his. The slightest mistake, the tiniest error of judgment can mean serious injury or sudden death for Mademoiselle Fifi. But Professor Delacroix never makes mistakes, which is why he is paid fabulous fees to perform in the most exclusive nightclubs.
My good friends, I am about to throw the final knife, which will be placed under Mademoiselle Fifi's arm on a direct line with her adorable heart. I ask you this, when it is done, please do not applaud, for what we perform this night is not an act, but a ceremony that celebrates the ultimate faith that one human being can have in another. Are you ready, my beloved?
I am ready, my darling.
Oh, yes. In the event you may not have known, Mademoiselle Fifi is my wife. And so, now.
I didn't applaud, nor did anyone else in that audience. We watched that shining, murderous knife spin easily from his fingers, describe a graceful arc, and come to rest, quivering in the board as close to her body as it could get, without piercing skin or drawing blood. We sat in shocked silence as we might in a church. In silence and in awe, not only of his almost supernatural skill, but also because of the smile on her face, the almost supremely confident smile I have ever seen. My name is Mark Harrison, and my entire life has been changed just because I happened to see a knife thrower's act in an expensive night spot. And now I'm trying to make it all come together. Morning, Mother.
Are you just getting down to breakfast, Mark?
I must have overslept.
Well, you'll be late for work again.
I suppose so.
Really, Mark, you own the plant. You should set an example.
Mother, I don't know the first thing about business. I don't care to learn, and as long as we have competent people running the place for us, we'll be fine.
Oh, how I wish you'd get married.
I don't know anyone.
Nonsense. You know plenty of women.
Yeah, none of them are what I'm looking for.
Oh, we've arrived at that stage of the conversation. You say you haven't found what you're looking for, and I ask, what are you looking for? And you answer, you don't know. And we go round and round with that for a while.
Well, the fact is, I do know what I'm looking for.
Oh? When did this happen?
Last night.
You mean you met the girl you want to marry?
No, not exactly, but I did meet the kind of a girl I want to marry.
Well, that's progress. Who's the girl?
Mademoiselle Fifi.
Mademoiselle Fifi?
Yes, there's a knife thrower's act at the Gilded Cage. He is Professor Delacroix. Mademoiselle Fifi is the target.
Oh, I think those things are gruesome.
It's an art. A positive art. The way he places those knives.
Mark, I wouldn't be able to look.
She stands there. Her life is in his hands.
I would imagine so.
The smallest mistake.
Personally, I think the girl is rather stupid to flirt with death. Why?
She trusts him.
That's the understatement of the week.
It is complete, unquestioning trust. It's absolute conviction. There's something so innocent about it. Something so pure.
Yes?
What I saw last night actually touched me to the very depth of my soul.
Oh, come, Mark.
How else can I put it? That's what happened. That's how I felt. Two people so deeply in love, and each evening that love must hold a confrontation with death.
Why does she do it?
It must be glorious to love like that. It must be terrible to love like that.
Well, make up your mind.
It's the only way I could ever love.
I wish you'd get married and get rid of all that romantic nonsense.
Those two people...
Those two, indeed. A glorified sideshow performer and a neurotic girl.
Oh, Mother, how can you call her that?
She flirts with death. Why?
That night, and every night, I went to the Gilded Cage. And I sat there, breathless, in a state... How else can I say it? Delicious terror, as the lethal knives flew through the air and came to rest against, but not in her body, forming a deadly halo around her head, a lethal collar around her neck. Finally, one evening, scarcely knowing what I was doing, I found myself backstage at Monsieur Delacroix's dressing room door. How I got there, I could never tell you. I'm basically a very shy person, but there I was. And before I knew it, I had knocked on the door, and it opened.
Yes? Oh, it's you, Mr. Mark Harrison. Please come in.
You know my name?
Of course.
How?
Sit down. Have a drink. Phoebe, Mark is here.
How wonderful.
Oh, she's in the other room, changing.
How did you know?
How did I know your name? Very simple, my friend. I asked.
But why would you ask? I can't imagine why you should want to know who I am, or care for that matter.
Why have you come to see me?
Oh, because I've never been so moved by a performance. I had to pay my respect to a great artist, and also to a great artiste.
Yes. Thank you.
But I still don't understand why you should want to find out who I am.
These past several weeks, you have become a person of great importance.
I have?
To me.
But why? How?
A performer thrills an audience.
Oh, yes.
But it must be a two-way street. You see, the performer is nourished by the audience. My creative engine runs on electricity. And this can only come from those who watch and believe. And you, Mr. Mark Harrison, of all the believers, you are the most devout. Isn't that so?
Yes.
Night after night, I see you in the audience, watching me as I was meant to be watched, appreciating my genius for what it is. And so I made inquiries. And had you not come to pay your respects to me, I would have come to pay mine to you.
Oh, thank you, Professor Delacroix.
Ah, Raoul, darling. We have a visitor, I see. It's the charming gentleman who always sits at the ringside table.
Fifi, this is Mr. Mark Harrison.
I think your performance is the most thrilling.
In the beginning, it was even more exciting. Raoul would throw his knives blindfolded.
Blindfolded?
Perhaps you might convince him to do it again.
Never. No one will ever convince me.
But, Professor, how exciting it would be if...
It would be a false excitement. It would cheapen my art. Well, now that we're all friends, Mr. Harrison, you must visit us more often.
When? All day you practice, in the evening you perform, and at night you must go to bed early.
Yes, art is a hard mistress.
As long as art is your only mistress.
Well, don't be a stranger, Mr. Harrison.
Oh, no, I won't. Good evening, Mother.
Oh, dear. Did you have a hard day at the office?
I had a hard time finding a place to hide.
Morton Holmes called you.
And?
And I said you'd call back.
Oh, why didn't you say I was in Europe?
Oh, what? He's not so bad.
He probably has another fabulous blind date lined up for me.
Call him back. He may have a nice girl.
Morton has nothing to do with nice girls.
Well, call him back anyhow. You have nothing else to do.
How do you know?
The Gilded Cage is closed Monday night, so you can't go see your knife thrower.
Mother, he's not just a knife thrower.
Whatever. Now, why don't you call Morton?
I have a better idea. Why don't I just take you to the opera?
I happen to have a date. I'm afraid it's Morton or nothing.
I can stay home and read.
Oh, come, Mark. Please go out. Meet people.
All right. But Morton is the biggest waste of time.
Then you should make other friends.
Yes, I suppose so, of course.
Hello?
Morton?
Hey, Mark, it's you, buddy. Listen, save my life, will you?
I'd rather not.
On the level, listen, Sally has a friend.
Spare me from Sally's friends.
How do you know, Mark? She may be nice.
Morton, I'm,
Don't say you're busy. Your mother already told me you weren't doing anything.
Now, listen,
Listen, this is the cutest gal you ever saw in your life.
Yeah, I've heard that build up before.
And she's French. I mean, she speaks perfect English, but oh la la.
Oh, look, Morton, the fact is I have a headache.
She's dying to go out with you.
Is that a fact? Why?
Well, she says she knows you.
She knows me?
Mark, what have you been keeping from me?
Mother, will you stop it?
And you know her.
Morton, I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, now, if you're an experienced listener, you know what Morton's talking about. Or do you? Who can this girl be? And when Mark says to Morton, I don't know what you're talking about, does he really mean, I don't want to know what you're talking about? We have a prodigious amount of work to get done in the second act. Truth, as they say, is stranger than fiction. But why is everybody intrigued by that concept? What's so surprising about it? Fiction, after all, is predictable because it must follow strict laws of form. You who listen to our stories expect us to abide by certain set rules and conventions. Truth, on the other hand, has no restrictions. It can meander about as it pleases without being beholden to anybody and get itself into the strangest situations. Well, what we're telling you is a true story.
The girls are waiting for us here in Sally's apartment. You're in for the surprise of your life, Mark.
Ah, hello.
Hello, Fifi. You know Mark?
Of course I know Mark. Oh, Sally's inside putting on her makeup.
Oh, why don't I go and check on her?
A splendid idea. Well, hello.
Can't be you.
Here, touch me. I'm real.
What are you doing here?
And what are you doing here? To answer both our questions, I want to have a little amusement, and so do you.
But you're married.
No, you're a funny man, but I like you.
I'm afraid I don't understand.
Oh, come. You want me. You wanted me from the first moment you saw me in the gilded cage. That's why you kept coming back every night.
No.
I said to my friend Sally, do you know this young man? And she said, oh, he's a friend of a friend. So, why are we standing here?
Look, I don't really think that...
Why don't you kiss me?
Oh,
You want to kiss me, don't you?
Look, I feel... I mean, I have definite ideas about what's right and what's...
And still, you came here.
I didn't know it would be you.
Oh, yes, you did. You knew it would be me.
No, that's not true.
Oh, it's true. And something else is also true. There can only be one moment like this. One moment when I feel this way. One moment when I want you more than anything or anyone in the world. If this moment passes, it may never return. But take me in your arms now. This minute.
I couldn't help myself. I'd never felt that way in my life. This girl, this woman, she overwhelmed me. It's the only word I can think of. Suddenly I had no will of my own, no mind of my own. Everything was overcome by the desire to hold her, to possess her. She became the whole world.
Another cup of coffee?
Oh, no thanks, Mother. I'll be late for work.
Oh, late for work. Tell me, how is your affair coming?
Affair?
Now, don't say the next sentence. What affair?
Mother, what are you talking about?
Your love affair.
Have you been spying on me?
I would never do a thing like that. I can tell by your moods, your actions, the little things that you're in love. Will you admit that?
All right, I'll admit it.
But grudgingly.
Mother, what am I supposed to do?
Son, love exhilarates. Love is not a burden. Unless...
Yes, unless...
Unless it's an affair with a married woman. Have I guessed it? You don't have to answer. Then instead of an innocent joy, love becomes a guilty secret. What's her name? You see, you keep it even from me.
I'm old enough to manage my own affairs.
Of course. And you're also old enough to be happy.
I'm going to be late for the office.
You are not going to the office.
I don't want to discuss it.
I must say, when you kick over the traces, you don't do things by halves. Quiet, shy, bashful Mark finally has an affair with, of all women, a knife thrower's assistant.
Mother, this is monstrous.
Why?
How could you know who she is unless you hired a detective?
Well, you kept talking about that knife thrower.
He's more than just a knife thrower.
Yes, he is a man you have betrayed.
Don't say that.
If I don't say it, will that change anything?
How did you find out?
I had my best friend, Judge Corwin, take me to the Gilded Cage one night. You didn't see us. You had eyes for no one but the breathtaking Mademoiselle Fifi. It was obvious.
Obvious?
Perhaps it was only obvious to me. I agree with you. The man's a genius, an artist. It just happens I don't care for his art. But that's not the issue. The girl, however, is obvious. She's what I said she was. A tart.
Now, Mother, don't...
Please, let me finish. Mark, there's all kinds of flirting. There's the sort that's done in all innocence. The light-hearted, non-serious, playful little game that always ends, however, before any points are scored.
Mother, I have had enough of this.
But Mademoiselle Fifi flirts because she must. It's what brings excitement. And for all I know, even meaning to her life.
That is ridiculous.
Every night she flirts with death. Each knife throw may be... Do you know why she's taken up with you?
We're in love, Mother. In love.
Hazardous as her life may seem to the public, perhaps it's not dangerous enough for her. I would say she needs even more excitement and suspense. Can you imagine what would happen if Professor Delacroix knew of this affair?
Oh, that has become my nightmare.
One of those knives could miss the mark by a fraction of an inch. A fatal accident. And who could prove it was done on purpose?
Oh, please, Mother, please don't say any more. She touched a nerve. She's very good at touching exposed nerves. Raw, vulnerable, sensitive nerves. What would he do? What would the professor do if he found out? I hardly have to guess. He's a proud man, a man of honor, great dignity. Did I even have to ask myself? He would kill us both. And the terrible thing, the awful situation was I was in love with her. And he had become my best friend.
Mark, my boy, the world is divided into two camps. The charlatans and the artists.
But not everyone has skills or talents.
True. But everyone who lives has life. And life is the greatest art of all. Without the audience that understands and enjoys, there is no art. How can there be? You understand the true meaning of what I do. You appreciate the incredible coordination.
Doesn't everybody?
No. To many, it's a trick.
Oh, how can it be a trick? It's being done in the open for all to see.
Ask and listen to what so many people say. They think it's done with mirrors, or it's done with magnets.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
But that's what they think. Why do you suppose I refuse to use a blindfold? Do you think it makes a difference to me? Of course not. But if I did wear a blindfold, I would only excite the suspicion that it was a fake, that there were hidden holes or slits, or that it was made of some transparent material.
It's hard to believe.
Well, good morning.
Well, it's hardly morning, Fifi, darling. It's almost noon.
Have you gentlemen been having another one of your earnest conversations?
Yes. But I'm afraid, my dear, that you shall have to entertain young Mark for a bit. I must practice.
You are always practicing.
Well, the fact that you live to say so is eloquent testimony to that fact. You see, Mark, my genius is due to the fact that I have been blessed by God and that I practice each day of the year.
For hours and hours
and hours. Well, until this evening.
Darling.
Fifi, I must talk to you.
You angel. You talk to me every day.
Do you love me?
Why do you ask?
Because I love you. But I want more.
Shouldn't love be enough?
I want you to marry me.
I'm married to Raoul.
It's wrong.
Why?
Because we love each other. Why should our love be kept a secret?
And will our love be stronger, more enduring, because everyone knows about it?
It's still wrong. We should be married.
And what about Raoul?
Well,
Raoul cannot live without me.
But he spends so little time with you.
As a man. But Raoul couldn't survive without me as an artist. Who else would he get to stand against the board?
But
no, darling. Mine is not a job that is filled by an employment agency or through an ad in the classified.
I understand.
No, you don't. We stand 30 feet apart. We are eye to eye. He's the thrower. I am the target. Together, we execute a ballet. His is all motion. Mine is all stillness. No one can throw the knife the way he can, but no one can stand as still as I can. Not a muscle twitches. The complete absence of movement, that is also an art. People like us are not made. We are born. He could never find someone like me again. It would be the end of him as an artist, and therefore the end of him as a man.
A ballet? The ballet of death?
Yes, of course.
And I'm afraid.
Afraid of what?
Afraid of what? Good Lord.
Tell me, why are you afraid? And of what are you afraid?
Nightmares. My nightmares.
My darling, why should you have nightmares?
I dream that one night, under the hot, bright lights, perhaps a bead of perspiration might momentarily blind him.
It doesn't matter. He can throw blindfolded. Watch him carefully. He closes his eyes before the release.
Oh, my darling, one day his luck will run out.
Luck? Oh, no. No, don't ever let him hear you say that word. Not you. Because it will only tell him that you don't understand him. It isn't luck. It's skill. God-given skill.
But no one is perfect.
He is perfect.
The 2 knives he throws to enclose your neck.
Yes?
Do you realize that the merest fraction of an inch and an artery...
It can't happen.
How can you sit there so calmly and say it cannot happen?
I am absolutely safe. Raoul can never miss.
You say that so calmly, so matter of fact. As if you're looking at a clock and announcing the time.
The analogy doesn't hold. If I told you the time, the clock could be wrong. But not Raoul. Raoul is never wrong. Raoul never misses.
You must know something that I don't know.
I don't know anything. I'm not a deep person. I'm not an intellectual. I may not even be intelligent. I only know what I want to do. And right now, I want to kiss you.
Now?
I said now, didn't I?
Here?
We're here, aren't we?
But Raoul. Raoul's in the next room.
Raoul is in another world.
Darling, you say Raoul could never miss. But suppose he found out about you and me.
Darling, if it bothers you so much, just make sure Raoul doesn't find out. And now, will you kiss me?
Well, admit it now. We have a rather cool young lady on our hands. It would be difficult to imagine a woman, young or old, with that much, well, as the French would say, sang-froid, cold blood, which is a perplexing situation since she seems to have so much hot blood when she's in Mark's arms. She's so sure of herself and of her husband. But why? The entire third act is dedicated to that question. We have been presenting for your edification, or mystification, a young lady named Mademoiselle Fifi. She is the wife of Professor Raoul Delacroix. She is also the mistress of Mr. Mark Harrison. This would hardly be an unusual situation if Professor Delacroix were some musty, dry-as-dust old pedagogue. Not so. Our professor is a handsome, vigorous man of 40. He is also a professional knife thrower. She acts as his target. Wouldn't you suppose that she should be the last woman in the world to be unfaithful to her husband?
Will I see you tomorrow, Mark, darling?
I cannot keep coming here every day. What will your husband think?
Why are you so worried about Raoul?
The way you ask that question, one would never believe that Raoul holds your life in his hands every evening. If I keep coming here every day, won't Raoul become suspicious?
I don't think so.
The way you say that. The way you smile when you say that, it's too much for me.
If I'm too much for you, maybe you'd better not see me anymore.
Yes, maybe I'd better not.
Very well. Goodbye.
That's best. It's best for both of us. For all three of us, because it can only end in disaster.
Mark, if you want to leave me, you only have to say goodbye. There's no need for a great farewell speech. There's the door. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Well, why are you still standing there?
I can't leave you. I love you. It's wrong, but I love you.
Then take me in your arms.
Good morning, Mark.
Oh, good morning, Mother.
Some breakfast?
Just coffee.
Oh, Mark, you look terrible.
Thank you.
But you don't sleep nights.
Maybe I have insomnia.
Maybe you have a guilty conscience.
Why don't we change the subject? You've already made your position clear. Do we have to go through it again?
Yes.
I know what I'm doing is wrong, but I can't help myself. I try to break off with her. Every time I see her, I say, this must be the last time. I must end it.
Well, why don't you?
I understand now, and only now, why and how a man could abandon his family, deceive his employer, even betray his country for a woman.
Oh, Mark, aren't you romanticizing?
Don't say that, Mother, or we'll never be able to talk to each other again. It's how I feel.
Let me introduce a new complication. Yesterday afternoon, the two of you were having lunch, tete-a-tete, at an out-of-the-way country restaurant and motel near the turnpike.
Why are you having me followed?
That is unworthy of you, Mark. The fact was reported to me by an old friend who happened to be lunching there himself.
Very well. I'm sure we can count on his discretion.
The trouble is, it's not the first I've heard of it. Word is getting around. Gossip is being started.
I know.
You know.
I suspect it would be.
And the professor?
Well, you don't know him. He lives in an ivory tower.
Perhaps, Mark. But sooner or later he will have to find out. There are enough malicious people in this world who will make sure.
Yes, Mother, I know that.
Then put a stop to it.
I can't.
Then reconcile yourself. Accept the fact that you will be the cause of her death.
You're right, Mother. I will have to give her up. Yes, I'm giving her up. How easy it was to say it. How difficult to do it. I didn't go to the club at night. I didn't visit the Delacroix by day. I did the only thing that would work. I stayed away. And I did it for a whole week. But then I knew, come what may, I couldn't do it any longer. So late one morning, despite every honest attempt and sincere desire to stop myself.
Mark Harrison, come in.
Hello, Professor.
My dearest friend, I haven't seen you.
I know.
Tell me, is everything in order?
Oh, yes, I think so.
But I missed you. I missed you at the performance, and I missed our little talks.
Well, you see...
You haven't been ill.
Oh, no. No.
And Fifi has missed you, too.
She has?
Yes. You've been good for her, a young fellow like you, someone to talk to while I'm busy at practice.
How have you been, Professor?
Oh, I'm always the same. I keep my nervous engine, constantly tuned. The eye, the hand, the factors of judgment, all of these form an incredible machine. And I believe it has a life of its own. There are times when I'm convinced that it isn't even subject to my control. Because if it were, then I might...
Yes? Then you might...
Oh, nothing at all. Perhaps someday I can tell you. Well, Fifi would be so sorry she missed you.
Isn't she home?
No. She said something about, what was it? Oh, she was on the phone and she said she was going shopping. Well, a shame. It's noon and I have to retire to my practice room.
I understand.
I know. So few people do. Promise me you won't be a stranger anymore. Promise.
Oh, I promise. I had come to see her because I could no longer keep away. But she wasn't home. Shopping, that would mean she'd gone downtown. Now it was noon, lunchtime. I knew there were only 2 or 3 places she cared for. I'd find her, and we'd go somewhere and spend the afternoon together. She would be angry with me for neglecting her so long, but she'd forgive me. She'd have to. When all's said and done, she loves me, and she cannot live without me. Just as I cannot live without her. Darling.
Mark.
I knew where I'd find you.
Where have you been?
It doesn't matter. I am here now. Come on. Let's drive out to that place in the country.
Why?
Because I want to take you in my arms.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
Yes. And now, darling, will you excuse yourself? I have a date.
A what?
A date.
A date? With a man?
Of course, if it were with a woman, it would be an appointment.
You're going out with other men?
Naturally.
Naturally? But you're in love with me. You said so.
I'll even say it again. I love you.
How can you go out with other men?
Because you're very difficult, Mark. You're so nervous, apprehensive, filled with so many fears and worries, and...
But I'm only concerned for you.
I know, but it doesn't make you a very satisfactory lover, and therefore...
And therefore you betray me.
Oh, now, that's a harsh word. Oh, hello, Morton, darling.
Fifi, Angel. Hey, Mark, old buddy. Three's a crowd.
You're cheating on me with him?
I think you had better leave, Mark.
Leave? Leave you here with him?
Come on, Mark, at your age.
I told you to keep out of it.
Now, look, pal, you're behaving like a chump.
I warned you. Professor.
Hello, Mark. May I come in?
Well, of course, sure. Won't you sit down?
I've come here to your home to thank you.
Thank me? Why would you want to thank me?
Come now, Mark. It's in the open at last. It's in the open between us.
Oh, Professor, please. Please allow me to tell you, I couldn't help myself.
No. Let me talk. You're bold, gallant, and a true devoted friend.
Professor...
You walked into that restaurant. You saw them sitting there. It was obviously a rendezvous, a tete-a-tete. You could see they were lovers.
Professor, you must allow me to tell you the truth.
And because you are my loyal friend, you became enraged at her dishonesty, her unfaithfulness, and so you attacked him.
What? Is that what you think?
Poor Mark. If only you had known the truth. She has the face of an angel and the morals of a slut. Do you think this Morton, whatever his name is her first one? Her only one? She picks up a lover as often and as casually as you or I might pick up a cigar.
You know this?
I've always known it. How I despise that woman, that common tramp.
But, Professor...
You have no idea how I yearn to kill her.
You want to kill her?
Day and night. I can think of nothing else. And not because she has betrayed me, not because she lusts after other men. Oh, no. That's her nature. She can't help it.
Then why?
It's that smile, that evil smile that says, "Here I stand. Kill me if you dare. For that she deserves to die. That is a crime."
But you could kill her at any moment.
Yes, my young friend. It would be so simple, so easy. A mistake of less than a quarter of an inch, and I could sever the jugular. The blood would spurt out 2, 3 brilliant crimson jets, and all would be over. And I would have my revenge. True?
True, yes.
At absolutely no risk to myself. An accident. Bad luck. A mistake that could occur in our business. And so now you may ask, why don't I do it?
It's because you're too decent, too kind.
Nonsense. I don't do it because I can't do it.
You can't do it?
Don't you think I try? Every night with each knife I throw. Don't you think I long to end her life? Don't you think I want to make that quarter-inch mistake?
Then why?
Why don't I? Because I can't. I cannot because my hand refuses to obey me.
I don't understand.
But she understands. She knows why the knife can never pierce her heart. That's why she stands there and smiles her evil smile. She knows me. She knows the secret of my art. She knows what a faultless machine I've become. She knows that I'm a true artist and that my hand, my brain, my eye will not permit me to make a mistake. And so she stands there and laughs at me, laughs at me, laughs at me.
That night, I went to the gilded cage. I watched Fifi smile, and I saw the agony on Raoul's face. Suddenly, I could no longer look at the act. Instead, I let my eyes roam around the room, and here and there I saw men sitting at tables, and they weren't looking either. And then I knew that they too were in on the secret, and that all of us were members of a club. We had come here not to see an act, but to see a murder. Yes, Professor Delacroix is a magnificent machine, but he is also human. And one day there will be the slightest malfunction. The machine will make the slightest miscalculation. It only needs what? A quarter? A 16th of an inch?
My good friends, I am about to throw the final knife, which will be placed under Mademoiselle Fifi's left arm, in a direct line with her adorable heart.
The final knife. Will it be this one? This is what the members of the club have come to see. Well, if you were told that there was going to be a murder at such and such a time, at such and such a place, and absolutely nothing could be done to stop it, would you go to see it? Think about it. We have have been listening to a story about possession. Possession seems to be a popular topic for entertainment these days, but it's somewhat misunderstood. We tend to think of possession as the intrusion of demons or devils into our body or soul. But actually, each one of us is possessed. We are possessed by what we are, by how we have been trained. We respond to a lifetime's experience. We are what we have become. The long way. The hard way. Our cast included Michael Wager, Patricia Elliott, Court Benson, and Ann Petoniak. The entire production was under the direction of Hyman Brown. This is E.G. Marshall inviting you to return to our Mystery Theater for another adventure in the macabre. Until next time, pleasant dreams.